It is a gorgeous Sunday afternoon. Welcome to the Bay Area. The NCAA Baseball Regionals Game 5 elimination game at Sunken Diamond on the Stanford campus. The Pac-12 champ Stanford Cardinal and Cal State Fullerton. The NCAA Baseball Regionals are presented by Capital One. Look at the bracket for the Stanford Regional. Last night, Texas A&M put themselves in the driver's seat coming back to beat Stanford 8-5. They're in the regional final tonight, awaiting our winner of this elimination game between Stanford and Cal State Fullerton. These two teams know a lot about one another, especially in the postseason. This matchup is the second most played matchup in the history of the NCAA tournament. Only Miami has played Florida more in the postseason than Stanford and Cal State Fullerton. Along with Arizona Hall of Famer, national champion Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein with you. Win or go home for both of these teams here today. The big bats are going to have to carry both the Cardinal and the Titans, starting with Stanford. Alberto Rios, the Pac-12 Player of the Year, and Eddie Park in center field have to get it going for Stanford.
Well, there's no question about it. Eddie Park is kind of like the forgotten guy in this Cardinal lineup. And he's a table setter. I mean, he makes contact better than anybody in this lineup for a Cardinal lineup that makes contact. But when he is going good and getting on base, the Cardinals go good. And speaking about going good, talk about the Pac-12 Player of the Year and Alberto Rios. Quite frankly, Roxy, he's one of the best that I've seen in recent years that steps in that box. On the other side, with Cal State Fullerton, the leadoff hitter, Zach Lou. How about he leads the Titans in home runs and RBIs? But the guy right behind him, Caden Connor, also contributes to this offense, and yesterday he did in a big way, driving in 4 runs with a home run. For them to be successful today, the Titans, these two are going to have to deliver.
These two met the opening weekend of the season. Stanford won 2 out of 3. Down in Fullerton, teams have combined for 6 national championships, 36 College World Series appearances, elimination game from Sunken Diamond. The NCAA Baseball Regionals are presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
The future is threatened by enemies often unseen and unexpected. In the midst of an uncertain and evolving world, the need for Marines to defeat these shifting threats is critical, because the need to ensure stability for our nation has never been greater. When there are battles to win for America's future, there is one constant: Marines.
Spring moments made easy. That's totally Target.
Okay, guys. Target vault's ahead. Please confirm inside.
This isn't possible.
Get the key to her financials and personal data. Strike team, go!
Why is this key so hard to get? Your privacy secured.
I don't believe in magic. But a few times in my life I've seen things I can't explain. And I've come to believe it's not so much what you believe, it's how hard you believe it.
Give 'em hell, Indiana Jones!
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Rated PG-13. Tickets on sale now.
Shave to shave. Shave. That's right. To shave or not to shave. Back.
One app with a slash so mean, got big plays from your phone to the big screen. ESPN Plus, it's in the app. Everything you want right here.
for David Esker. Back-to-back Pac-12 Coach of the Year. The Stanford Cardinal, the #8 national seed, but facing elimination here in Game 5. And they lead the Pac-12 in home runs. Hit one last night. They've hit 5 in this Stanford Regional so far. One change, Timo Becerra DHing. As their regular DH, Jake Sapien, was hit by a pitch in the face in their first game against San Jose State on Friday. And so Becerra gets the nod today as the DH. Carter Graham had a 22-game hitting streak snapped by Texas A&M last night. And on the mound for the Titans, we saw him in relief yesterday in their win against San Jose State. Peyton Jones makes the start, only his 4th of the year. So Peyton Jones, who already in this regional for Cal State Fullerton has worked an inning and a third, and he gave up 4 runs. That was actually against A&M and not San Jose State. But Peyton Jones, there are his numbers on the year.
Well, you take a look at his numbers. Opponents are just hitting .221 against him. And you see the 4.13 ERA. So you'd say that doesn't equate to a 4.13. You'd think he'd be in the low, high 2s, maybe mid 3s. But you look at this base on ball column, and that's where Peyton gets in trouble. And if you start walking guys against his powerful Cardinal lineup, you will have some problems.
Temperatures in the mid-70s at first pitch. A spectacular Sunday afternoon. We've had perfect weather for this entire regional so far.
You want a weather update from me?
I just said it was the mid-70s.
Well, but the game time's 73. This guy was going to update you. That's all.
But it feels like 75. Eddie Park's going to lead it off, the junior from San Jose for Stanford. 339, 6 homers for Eddie Park. As Eddie Park so far 5 for 9 with a homer in this regional. He was the Stanford Regional Most Outstanding Player last year, going 14 for 20. And Peyton Jones missing with ball 1. Underway, Sunken Diamond on the farm.
Just seems like we just left, doesn't it? Kind of did.
So you're saying you left? I didn't leave. I just stayed here last night.
Well, I can't sleep under here, but you can. I mean,
well, I just don't want to go home, so mother-in-law's living with us right now.
Well, I don't know anything about that. But being 4'11", you can actually just stand up and sleep underneath in the booth.
2-1 the count on Eddie Park.
The Stanford offense was 2nd in the league, with the exceptions of home runs that you mentioned, Roxy, to the University of Arizona, but every major category, the Cardinals are top 2.
In the air, left center off the bat of Park, coming in on the ball. The catch is made by Carter White, and that's how our ball game begins. Eddie Park flies out. That'll bring up Tommy Troy, hitting an even 400 for the Stanford third baseman. 15 homers for Troy, who, by all accounts, will go in the mid to late first round of the Major League Draft coming up next month when they hold it around the Major League All-Star Game in Seattle. On the ground, sharply hit and past the diving shortstop Jack Haley, and a single for Tommy Troy. One out base runner for the Cardinal. Sharp single from Troy, as Tommy Troy is now 5 for 8 in this regional. And here comes Carter Graham. 320 for Graham, tied for the team lead, 70 batted in. 15 homers for Carter Graham. Had a 22-game hitting streak broken up last night. The game against Texas A&M, as Carter Graham was 0 for 4, walked and scored a run against the Aggies.
Came up in a big spot for the Cardinal when they were up 4-1 with 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. Unfortunately for him, he punched out, but that was a big part of the game because the Cardinal last night, Roxy, let's face it, they had an opportunity to put a lot of runs on the board early in that game.
They led it 4-1 after 3.
And it's a credit to the Aggies pitching staff. Wasn't pretty. They got 9 walks, 2 hit by pitch last night, and the Cardinals Cardinal, I should say. I happen to have a bad habit of plural.
You do.
I do.
Catches the corner to Carter Graham, 2-1. And give Jim Schlossnagle and Nate Yeske, his pitching coach, a lot of credit. They knew how to run that game last night, when to get pitchers out, and the 5 guys they combined, 4 relievers especially, were phenomenal.
They really were.
And all left-handed against Stanford last night. Cal State Fullerton throwing a lefty at the Cardinal today.
I don't know, have you ever seen more left-handers on his pitching staff since we've known each other?
Certainly, Texas A&M probably is the most left-handed dominant team we've seen. Carter Graham sends this one out of play. Graham homered against Cal State Fullerton in opening weekend, where Stanford lost the opening game. The Titans at Goodwin Field to start the year. Then came back and won the last 2 to take 2 out of 3 as Stanford in that 3-game series. The Cardinals scored 29 runs against Cal State Fullerton. They hit 8 homers, including 1 by Graham. Braden Montgomery on deck, homered in that series. Malcolm Moore, the freshman catcher for the Cardinal, homered 3 times against Cal State Fullerton.
When the season started after that series that you mentioned, first series of the year, these two matched up, and at the time you really couldn't figure out where the Titans were going to be. Were they going to be good, solid, average, fair?
Because they were coming off a subpar year from 2022.
They were, but I think it's, you know, we talked to Jason Dietrich. Was it after that Texas win that it kind of woke up? They beat Texas, and he said the team kind of said, you know what, we can play.
Skied by Graham, coming in toward the line, racing over is Nate Nankill, and he gets there to make the grab, and there's 2 down. Carter Graham flies out. That'll bring up Braden Montgomery, last year's Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Montgomery homering last night for Stanford, just 1 for 9 though in this regional. But he homered the first inning against the Aggies. From this side of the plate, the majority of his homers coming from the left side. And it's funny, most switch hitters, Wes, seem to have more power from this side of the plate. Tommy Troy running, and the throw down to second, and Troy is out trying to steal.
I'm not sure if Tommy believes it. I don't know if he's going to stay out there. It's a great throw from Cole Ehrman behind the dish. It's a great start defensively for the Titans. How about this rocket from Cole Ehrman to nail Tommy Troy?
It's in the home half of the first, and Jason Dietrich, his lineup. Cal State Fullerton today. And Cal State Fullerton used the long ball yesterday, their first multi-homer game since late April, and not usually a part of the arsenal for Cal State Fullerton, but Kate Connor hit a 3-run homer yesterday. Maddox Lotta went deep, as they had 15 hits in the 9-5 win to eliminate San Jose State.
Well, this offense for the Titans is very similar to the Aggies that we talked about last night. The Titans were 7th in the conference in batting average. They were 8th in home runs, but they were 2nd in base on balls. And they, as what you would like to refer to as small ball, and it's been a part of their DNA, the Titans' DNA, for what, 4 decades now, Roxy?
Maybe even longer. Matt Scott on the mound, the 6'7" freshman right-hander. Last year was the Connecticut State Gatorade Player of the Year. And he had an interesting freshman year, up and down. When he was good, he was dominant.
He was real good.
But he seemed to find it again toward the end of the year. And they need to get a deep start from Matt Scott, who powers a fastball in there, 93 to Zach Liu, senior, 279, 7 homers.
Well, he was a very, very effective starter for the Cardinal early in the season, I would say all the way into late March. And then all of a sudden he just lost his command. And that's what you keep an eye on. But the good thing for the Cardinal was in the Pac-12 tournament last week, That's the deepest he has gone in a long time, where he threw 5 innings in a solid 5 innings in the Pac-12 tournament.
1-1 on Lou. Just missed high. Doug Vines, our plate umpire, as there's a look at Matt Scott. A .38 ERA as a senior in high school. .38. .38.
So he gave up 1 run the entire year.
On the ground is short. Routine for Owen Cobb. Throws it wildly to first, pulling Carter Graham off the bag. And an error to start the day for Stanford defensively. And Zach Lou is on.
But this is just fundamentals. When you catch a ground ball, you need to stay in an athletic position. And you'll watch Cobb, when he gets this, catches a ground ball, but he'll stand up to throw, and that's what's going to make that throw sail up the line. And
he got, when he released it, he was under the ball.
Yeah.
He didn't get on top of it.
That's because he's just standing up. He didn't get on top. But again, here's where the small ball comes in. Tommy Troy is in at third. I'm not sure they're going to bunt somebody like Connor this early in the game.
333, 5 homers for Connor, including a homer yesterday, a 3-run shot. Drove it 4. He looks at a strike for Matt Scott.
Tommy Troy is in on the grass, but again, I just don't think the way Connor swung the bat yesterday that Jason Dietrich is going to want to lose his bat right now.
And the way this ballpark is going to play during the day, it's going to take some runs to win this one. Don't want to necessarily give away outs. Nice job by Malcolm Moore behind the plate. But Matt Scott, who entered the rotation for Stanford in early March. At one point, Matt Scott was 5-0 with a save and a 2.08 ERA after he beat Cal on April 7th. Knocked down by Moore, but then hit a rough patch. He threw 8 shutout innings in a game against Utah here March 26, struck out 6. But then gave up 6 runs against Oregon in mid-April. That's when he hit the skids for a little while. And he seemed to get it going again his last couple of outings. In relief against Washington State, went 4 innings the last weekend of the regular season. And then against Cal, the Pac-12 tournament, it's 3-1 on Caden Connor.
And I should point out, Neil Walton runs the offense for the Titans, and we asked Jason Dietrich, do you get involved? And he said, sometimes I will come over and say, hey, what about this? But Neil Walton runs this offense.
Zach Lou at first. Hit in the air, right field. Braden Montgomery back onto the track, right in front of the 375 sign. Connor just missed that one.
He really did just miss that. It's a fastball middle, and I happened to be looking at the flags when that ball went up, and they just started to blow out a little bit. But to your point, Roxy, day games here, I would say all the way up to, what, 7 o'clock at night, the ball will fly out of here.
1 out, Nate Nantkill. 305, 5 homers for the Cal State Fullerton right fielder.
And now you're in a situation where you might run a hit and run if you're the Titans. This is the type of ball they play. With that being said, if you're going to run hit and run, it's got to be against a pitcher that you know is going to be around the zone all the time, right? And we know that Matt Scott, if he struggles with anything, it's his command. So that's the double-edged sword if you want to put a hit and run on here.
30 walks and 59 2/3 coming in. And Scott did pitch in relief 2 innings against the Titans that opening weekend. 2 scoreless innings. He walked 3, struck out 3, did not allow a hit. Picked up the win. It was Stanford's first victory of the year on the Saturday game of that opening series. Now over toward the Stanford bullpen, and Carter Graham watched it sail out of play.
Well, early in the year, we talked to David Esker, or I should say I did, and I asked him about Matt Scott, and he said in fall ball, he was unbelievable. As a freshman, he sliced right through the lineup. This unbelievable Stanford lineup.
He's got big-time stuff. This is potentially first-round draft pick of the future.
Couple years.
6'7", and it's effortless. And he's in the low to mid-90s right now as a freshman. And it's 2-2 on Nankill. I remember the first time I saw him pitch early in the season. And the first name that came to mind when I saw Matt Scott pitch, former Major League All-Star Josh Johnson. Same frame, 6'7", and it's an effortless delivery. Strike 3 called on a fastball, 94 from Scott, 2 down.
This is just a great fastball in the inside part, to your point, Brox, and just locks up Nankill.
Two outs, cleanup batter, Brendan Bobo. DH 217, 7 homers for Bobo. It's Brendan Bobo, the junior from Santa Cruz. Not too far from the Stanford campus. Without traffic, probably 50 minutes to an hour.
Not when you drive.
Well, I've got to deal with traffic trying to get to Santa Cruz. As Bobo looks at a strike, is one thing that Matt Scott's doing, he's getting that first pitch strike and he's getting ahead of hitters. 4 for 4 in the first 4 batters he's seen from the Titans.
An interesting defensive lineup for the Cardinal. You have Cobb, he's not on the right side of second base. He's basically just playing center field in the infield, but Drew Bowser's about 15 feet on the grass in right field.
1-1. Brendan Bobo didn't start the opener of this regional for Cal State Fullerton. Was in there yesterday and batting cleanup today. It's 2-1 on Bobo, who led the Titans in homers a year ago.
Second base umpire Blake Felix is basically playing second base.
Give him a glove.
Why not?
Two balls and a strike. Good fastball, 94 from Scott. Matt Scott worked once at the Pac-12 tournament. This right-hander figures to be a mainstay in the Stanford rotation the next couple of years. It could be that next pitcher that makes the jump. Quinn Matthews, Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year this year. Alex Williams a year ago. And as Matt's got that next one, you look back over the years for Stanford. All the great pitchers under Thomas Eager in recent years. Brendan Beck, Tristan Beck. Full count, 2 down. Just missed, and there's 2 on. 2 on, 2 out. Maddox Lana, speaking of the long ball yesterday for Cal State Fullerton. This was Maddox Lana against the Spartans.
Well, this is part of that home run barrage that the Titans decided to put on display yesterday. And been very abnormal for the Titans, as you mentioned in the open, to have multiple home runs in one game.
Well, you mentioned the home run barrage. They were out-homered. San Jose State hit 5. The problem for the Spartans was all 5 were solo shots. And Jason Dietrich, I was talking to him before the ball game on the field, and he said, look, normally you give up solo shots, they're not going to beat you. But if they hit enough of them, they will.
Well, you won an inning.
But the good thing is that there was nobody on when they gave up the homers yesterday. Strike called a lot.
Titans just trying to get a lead in a game. I mean, obviously, if you look on paper, you would think that Stanford is a favorite in this game. Titans trying to get an early lead.
A lot of 5 for 9 in the regional. Goes back up the middle and a single to center. Zach Lou being waved. He will score. And an RBI single with 2 outs, and Maddox Lana gives Cal State Fullerton the early lead.
That We talked about them. They hooked up early the first 3 games of the season. And again, this is just a base hit up the middle, some good hitting from Lada. Wasn't that necessarily a bad pitch, but what allowed this run to score was the base on balls. And that's what we talked about in the opening with Matt Scott. It's going to be all about his command.
And the error and unearned run, which got this inning started for the Titans. 2 on, 2 out. Carter White, 320 hitter, is driven in 21. Early run on the board for Cal State Fullerton. Matt Scott powers the fastball in there, 94. Each of the first 6 batters, Matt Scott's gone 0-1 on. But he has not gone 0-2 on anybody yet. Line to short. Sliding stop, Owen Cobb, and too late to second base, an infield hit. That ball hit squarely by Carter White, and they're loaded for Cal State Fullerton now.
But it's a tremendous reaction and play by Owen Cobb. Unfortunately for him, Drew Bowser was playing White to pole. He's in a 3-4 hole, and it was impossible for him to get to the bag to get that force out. But this reaction in hands by Owen Cobb saved another run.
Moises Guzman, 255, a couple of homers. So the ground attack in effect for Cal State Fullerton. Another first pitch strike for Matt Scott. Guzman so far in this regional, 2 for 8. Was 2 for 9 against Stanford, but drove in 5 that opening series. And now he's 0-2 on a batter for the first time.
Well, here's where Malcolm Moore, the freshman catcher, he's been a phenom with the bat. He struggled behind the dish a little bit. Here's where he needs to make sure he stays down on all breaking pitches.
Brennan Bobo at third, Maddox Lada at second, Carter White at first. Just missed down low. Doug Vines calling the balls and strikes. Jeff Head at first, Blake Felix, our umpire at second, Tim Winningham, the umpire right there in your screen at third. 1-2. Moises Guzman. One of the guys he looked up to as he was coming up as a baseball player was somebody we've gotten to know over the years, who was a College World Series hero at Oregon State, was also from Sacramento.
Who's that?
Tyler Malone.
Really?
Tyler Malone, a big part of Oregon State's national championship.
Dairy Queen, Tyler Malone? That would be him.
Their most recent national championship for Oregon State back in 2018. 0-2 on Moore. Montgomery the runner at first. Tyler Malone would end up being drafted by the Padres. We saw him actually at the Pac-12 tournament. He was sitting with Malcolm Moore's dad during one of the Stanford games at Scottsdale Stadium. Oh, 0-2. Freshman catcher for the Cardinals. Pitch way outside from Peyton Jones, and Jones again worked on Friday, and you wonder how long he'll go today. As Peyton Jones did pitch in that opening series against Stanford, didn't fare very well. Inning and a third in 2 appearances, he walked 4, gave up 3 runs. As Moore, did he get a piece of it? The plate umpire, Doug Vines, says he did. The umpires will get together, looks like, and it appears it's a foul ball that Malcolm Moore got a piece of it. He's still alive. And it did bounce.
Yeah, well, Doug Vines came out in a hurry. Credit to him. Said, nope, nope. Time. That's foul ball.
1-2 on Moore. Jones. The pitch. And fouled off by Malcolm Moore. Fought off by the freshman catcher for the Cardinal.
That's way up and in. What you would think from a pitcher's perspective, a left-hand pitcher's perspective, if you have a hitter that's going to operate a ball way up and in, it should open the outer part of the plate with something soft.
Peyton Jones, a high school teammate of Stanford pitcher Joey Dixon, who we saw start for the Cardinal last night at Bingham High School in the suburbs of Salt Lake City. Malcolm Moore may have gotten something in his eye. Steps out for a second. 1-2 the count. Dixon, strong outing last night. Went 5 2/3, struck out 5. Bullpen couldn't hold the lead for Dixon, and A&M came back to beat the Cardinal to send Stanford to this elimination game.
It's a typical Stanford at bat. It's like workmanlike, right? They make pitchers go deep in counts. They'll fight off pitchers' pitches and wait and hope opposition makes a mistake.
Got him with the curve, struck him out. First strikeout for Peyton Jones. 2 outs, Drew Bowser will be the batter.
Well, that's just timing from Peyton Jones. It looks like he takes a little bit off a breaking pitch on the inside part, and Moore is way out in front of this thing.
.274, 11 homers for Bowser, including 1 in this region. One of the postseason heroes for the Cardinal from a year ago. Led the NCAA tournament with 6 homers and 12 RBIs. Bowser had 2 homers the opening weekend against the Titans.
Real good change up there from Peyton.
Strike 3. Bowser goes down, and the Cardinals strand the leadoff hit from Montgomery. We're going to the bottom of the second. Cal State Fullerton, Peyton Jones on top of the number 8 national seed. The Cardinal 1-0. Takes strike 1, leading off the home second against Matt Scott. 1-0 Cal State Fullerton. 8-9-1 for the Titans. Herman 271, 3 homers. Titans catcher. 1 ball, 1 strike. Matt Scott has gone 8 for 8 on first pitch strike so far. The junior from Temecula, California. Cole Ehrman. Unearned run for Cal State Fullerton in the first. 2 balls and a strike on Ehrman. Ehrman just 2 for 13 against Stanford that opening weekend. 3 for 10 so far in this Stanford Regional. That one lined to left. Alberto Rios, it's over his head, and it's over the wall. Home run. Just got out of here. A low line drive, and Ehrman his 4th of the year. 2-0 Cal State Fullerton. just over the top of the wall.
Well, in order to advance in regionals, guys that normally don't lead the yard are going to lead the yard occasionally. And you see a fastball, and Ehrman does not miss this thing. This is just a line drive over the wall and left. And just like that, the Titans up 2-0 here. But
Jack Haley, shortstop 9-hitter. On the ground to third, Tommy Troy backhands.
But we know when you go up and down these lineups, both of these skippers will go through the other opposition's lineup and say, well, we're not going to let these two guys beat us. And Jason Dietrich, when he looks at Stanford's lineup, and he's going to go, well, which guy don't want to beat him? You got 1 through 7, right? And then Cobb at the bottom is hitting 330. That said, the same thing holds true for David Esker, who we're not going to let beat us from them. And you take a look at their lineup, and you go, it's the first two hitters in their lineup, and Lou and Connor. But in order to advance in postseason play, it doesn't matter if it's regional or super or in Omaha, you're going to need some special performances from players that you normally don't get it from.
Bouncer to third, cut off by Tommy Troy. 2 outs. After the homer, a couple of quick outs for Matt Scott. Caden Connor coming up. Fly out in the first for Caden Connor. Hit it to the warning track out there in right center field. Cal State Fullerton did 2 homers yesterday. That's their 3rd homer of this Stanford Regional. 2-0 lead for Jason Dietrich and the Titans. Back in the tournament for the first time since 2018. Where they missed in 2019 and ended a run of 27 consecutive years. Cal State Fullerton in the NCAA tournament.
And then in 2018, they were that close to going to Omaha. They had a 10-inning extra inning game against the University of Washington, Lindsey Meg's club, and Hank LaForte left the yard, smallest in the lineup for the Titans, to give the Titans a 1-run lead, and then the Huskies came back, right back, and scored 2 in the bottom half, and the Huskies went off to Omaha. We haven't seen the Titans since.
And also Washington's first last appearance prior to this year in the tournament was that College World Series appearance in 2018 under Lindsey Meggs, as Alberto Rios makes the catch. And the Titans go 1-2-3 after the homer, but Cole Ehrman makes it 2-0 Titans.
Well, the catcher, who has been spectacular behind the dish throwing out runners, says, you know what? I can swing the bat a little bit, and he hits his fastball out into the trees. 2-0 Titans.
Stanford on this list. That's a list you don't want to be on, with national seeds playing elimination games today. Clemson is already out. Florida gets a win, so they're still alive in the Gainesville Regional. Oklahoma State and Auburn went 2 and Q, as they say, 2 and barbecue. They're out.
Is that what the Q means? You've been saying it. I have
never heard that phrase before.
Haven't. Why would you think I heard that phrase before?
You've been around college baseball since they were playing with leather helmets. And something's going on here. Plate umpire Doug Bynes coming over, and now Jason Dietrich headed out to the mound. Peyton Jones, who's thrown 2 scoreless innings in this start.
This is with the athletic trainer on your left,
which is never a good sign. The athletic trainer, Mike Home for Cal State Fullerton, with the skipper.
This does not, if you're wondering, count as a trip. Anytime you have the trainer go out with you, does not count against you as a trip to the mound.
So this is a lengthy conversation, and talking more with the athletic trainer than the skipper, which also is usually not a good sign.
And if Peyton Jones happens to leave this game, if you're wondering, and there is a change made, the next pitcher will have as many pitches as he needs to get loose.
Trevor Hinkle, who was potentially a starter for Cal State Fullerton. An option for Jason Dietrich is the guy that you just saw starting to throw in the bullpen.
As long as this conversation's going on.
Whatever Peyton Jones said, he's going to stay in this game, and that satisfied the athletic trainer and the skipper, Jason Dietrich.
And Jason Dietrich has talked to many, many pitchers over his career, and he understands when somebody's being honest with them. And I don't want to say that pitchers aren't honest, but they want to stay in the game, a lot of them, right? And you have to read through those conversations, and there are little key words, and you'll see the eyes of your pitcher, and you know if he's being honest and sincere, or you know if he wants to fight it out. And Jason Dietrich is worried about the health, more of the health of his pitcher than winning this game right now.
8-9-1 for Stanford in the third. Timo Becerra, the DH, will lead it off. 300 with a homer. Limited at bats this year for Becerra, has 9 hits. And again, Becerra's in there because of the injury sustained by Jake Sapien, Stanford's regular DH, when he was hit by a pitch in the face on Thursday against San Jose State.
And normally you would not say that the 8-hole hitter in the Stanford lineup would be missed, but I think he is missed because he was so good the last 30 days for steady.
Now 3-0 on Becerra. Surprised you haven't brought up my dog yet.
Well, it's my dog, Chemo.
No, Timo.
Timo.
You don't even know the dog's name. You're claiming it?
I named him Chemo. Timo for you.
But they're spelled differently than Timo Becerra. Called strike to Becerra. He spells it T-E-M-O. My dog Timo is T-I-M-O, as my son Jake named him after his favorite hockey player, Timo Meyer. Played for the Sharks, now plays for the New Jersey Devils. Becerra goes the other way and pushes one to right. Leadoff single, hit number 3 for the Cardinal, and not named after the former middle infielder Timo Perez. Just so you know.
But you understand that everything you just said there, that dissertation right there, I understood nothing of it. None of it.
I thought it was a pretty strong explanation. Matter of fact. No? Do I have to dumb it down for you?
Well, you didn't have to use that word, but.
Here's Owen Cobb. 9-hitter for Stanford, 327. The senior from Seattle has 6 homers. Speaking of being named after, have a guess? Care to guess who Peyton Jones is named after?
Manny?
You got it.
I got it right.
Omaha.
Where we go?
Named after Peyton Manning.
Well, Omaha, Nebraska is the dream of every college baseball player who's ever put a uniform on.
Good curve from Peyton Jones. 1-2 on Owen Cobb.
It's a big at-bat right here because after Cobb, you turn this Stanford lineup over.
Screen by Owen Cobb, and story bears repeating with Cobb that coming into this season he didn't really factor in for David Esker in terms of the leading candidate to be a shortstop after Adam Crampton moved on after a year ago. Crampton last year was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Owen Cobb may have been 3rd on the list. Did he go? No swing on appeal, says Jeff Head. As each skipper does, okay, they had their depth chart going through the fall and heading into the season, and Cobb was probably 3rd. Trevor Haskins, who had the walk-off hit to win the Stanford Regional last year, was probably number 1, with Timo Becerra pushing him. Becerra was banged up. Strike 3 called outside edge to Cobb. Didn't like it. 3rd strikeout for Jones, 1 gone, and Eddie Park coming up.
Well, Cobb didn't like this pitch. It may have been a little bit on the outside part, but again, you're in a situation when you have 2 strikes like that. I mean, as a hitter, you just want to protect, but you can't leave it up to the umpire. And again, Peyton Jones is not somebody who's going to rush it up there. His fastball is going to maybe top out at 90. So as a hitter, you do have the ability to react to fastballs, but 2 strikes, you just want to be covering the outside part of the plate and react in.
Back to the top of the order, Eddie Park. Becerra at first, and a curve from Jones drops low. Just to finish the story on the shortstop situation, Becerra was banged up. Trevor Haskins was dealing with an illness. He had mono and then injuries, and Owen Cobb jumped in there and hasn't relinquished the spot.
Well, it's fair to say there's a couple of positions. One you just mentioned, Owen Cobb at shortstop, and then the other question mark was Alberto Rios in left. And it's history what we know Alberto has done this year, but Owen Cobb, there's 2 players. Again, David Esker didn't know what to expect.
Don't strike to Park, who was the left fielder last year for Stanford. Moving over to center with Brock Jones, getting drafted high. Standout player for the Cardinal the last few years. Becerra at first, 1 out. Peyton Jones, the 2-1. And it's outside Eddie Park.
This is what Eddie Park does. He's the best contact hitter the Cardinal have. He's not afraid to take the count to 3-2, but again, it's the bats behind Eddie Park that do all the damage.
In the zone, full count on Park.
Now is where you normally choke up, try to put the ball in play, flip it somewhere.
3-2, 1 out. Moved by Peyton Jones.
It's a tough decision that David Esker has to make with the runner at first. You send him right now, knowing that Tommy Troy's on deck and that 3-4 hole's wide open.
Back up the middle, Eddie Park a single. Becerra rounding, turns on the Jets, racing for third and dives in. Terrific base running by Becerra, reading that play beautiful.
It is a great job by Becerra, and again, as a base runner, as long as the ball's in front of you, you don't need a third base coach. Anytime the ball is in front of you, you're going to have to make your own decision. And Becerra pushes the envelope a little bit and dares Moises Guzman in center field to throw him out at third. And now the Cardinals are set up in a great situation. First to third, 1 out, can score a run with an out, but that's not what the Cardinals normally do. They get these opportunities, they take advantage of them, with the exception of last night. Roxy, a couple times, this same situation, they did not score a run against the Aggies.
Tommy Troy singled in the first. Runners at the corners, 1 out. Cal State Fullerton leading 2-0. An opportunity for Stanford here in the third. Light breeze blowing out toward left. Temperature in the mid-70s. A perfect day. 2-0 on Troy. And now Peyton Jones has trouble.
This is a danger zone, obviously, for Peyton Jones. His bread and butter is off speed.
Second trip through the order. Swing and a high fly ball to center. Guzman back. Warning track. Late. Gone. Home run. Tommy Troy. Number 16 for Tommy Troy, and Stanford has the lead.
Well, it's a 2-0 fastball, and you throw 2-0 fastballs to Tommy Troy, middle, and up, and he will deposit it into the trees, and that's exactly what he does right here. And quite frankly, he just might have woken up this Stanford offense. The Titans are going to make a pitching change right here, and you just wonder, Roxy, after that meeting that Jason Dietrich had with Peyton Jones to start the inning, if something might have been wrong with Peyton Jones right there. But a big 3-run home run for Tommy Troy. The Cardinals are up here early.
New pitcher is the transfer from Pepperdine. Trevor Hinkle takes over on the mound, 2 1/3 from Peyton Jones, surrendering the 3-run blast to Tommy Troy to give Stanford the lead.
Well, obviously his job right now is just to put a stop to the Stanford offense. Again, it's you can cruise through some innings against this Cardinal offense and think everything's going well, and it just takes some base runners. And for me,
Carter Graham the other way, that peels off foul.
the key at bat, of course, Becerra getting on base, but it's Eddie Park that hits the base hit up the middle, that sets it up in first and third. But Eddie Park is, like we talked in the open, the unsung hero to this Cardinal offense.
Graham will fly out of the first. Hinkle's pitch fouled back. Stanford, 6 homers now in this regional. Hit 4 in the opener against San Jose State. Braden Montgomery hit one last night against A&M, and now Tommy Troy getting Stanford the lead. 0-2 on Graham. Hinkle, that awkward delivery. That's in the dirt. Ball 1 is Hinkle, 8.23 ERA. He's given up 67 hits in 15 1/3. So the junior from Temecula, after Peyton Jones lifted here in the 3rd inning.
Well, this is a game that both of the skippers and pitching coaches, before the game starts, whether it's back in the hotel or at the yard, you bring them all together and say, or talk to them individually, how many you got from them? How many do you have from them? How many innings? How many pitches do you have? And you hope that you have, it's everybody that raises their hand.
Got him. Strikeout for Hinkle. There's 2 outs in a Stanford 3rd. That'll bring up Braden Montgomery, who singled in the first. 6'2" right-hander. Hinkle pitched 3 years at Pepperdine. Was born in Oceanside, but from Temecula. Went to Chaparral High School.
It's a beautiful campus, isn't it? Pepperdine?
Pepperdine? It's on the list of probably the top 3, I would say, in the country.
Well, from the
view from Eddy Field.
Yeah, the view from the baseball field. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You can see the Pacific Ocean.
The Pacific is right there on the outside of right field.
It's left field, but yeah, we get it.
At some point in time from right field, you're going to be able to see. If I'm on a ladder from right field.
Montgomery, fly ball, right field. Nankill back and gives way to the center fielder Guzman, and makes the catch just shy of the edge of the warning track. 3-run homer from Tommy Troy, and Stanford takes their first lead.
Well, Tommy Troy's bat has woken up here in a big way. Leaves the yard to left center. 3 runs on the board for the Cardinal.
Part of the order in the home 3rd for the Cal State Fullerton Titans: Nate Nankill, Brendan Bobo, Maddox Lotta against Matt Scott. Strikeout in the first, observing for Nankill.
Well, big inning for Matt Scott out there. After your team gives you 3 runs, imperative you get the leadoff hitter out for the Titans. Get the shutdown inning.
1-1 on Nankill. Matt Scott.
That's the difference. When you separate the greats in the game, you go to the major leagues, right? All the greats in the game, you give them a lead, those great ones, they said that's enough, and I'll take care of it, and it starts with the leadoff hitter.
One-two pitch. And Nankill lays off. Changeup down low, 2-2. Titans with runs in each of the first 2 innings to go ahead 2-0. RBI single for Maddox Slide, the homer from Cole Ehrman. Tommy Troy's 3-run shot in the top of the inning, giving Stanford the lead as Nankill places one into right center for a hit. Chugging for 2, and he'll make it with a stand-up double to start the 3rd for the Titans. Leadoff double for Nate Nankill.
It's a good job from Nankill. He hits his fastball in the outside part. And just like that, Titans coming right back, runner on second and no outs. And it's a great situation because we talk about the smoke and mirror offense that Jason Dietrich told us that they have. But in this situation with the left-handed Bobo, it just works out perfect because all he's got to do at the worst is just pull the ball to the right side of the infield and he moved Nankill to 3rd with less than 2.
Blocked by Malcolm Moore's Bobo, the cleanup batter showed bunt.
That said, they're chasing 2.
Chasing 2? I thought you were good again.
Chase some more.
There you go. 2-0 the count on Bobo. Is the 20th double for Nankill on the year.
Be surprised. I'd be surprised if you don't see the Stanford bullpen start moving around right now. I mean, this is a must-win game, and yes, you want to think about if you win, who you're going to use for your next game, but there is no next game if you don't win now.
3-0 the count on Bobo.
That's off speed right there. Interesting call, and they're going to send Malcolm Moore out to the mound to buy some time.
There is some stirring, and now throwing beginning for Stanford in the bullpen.
I believe it's Panzer.
Nick Dugan.
Or Nick Dugan. Nick Dugan's somebody who has started for the Cardinal this year. Very talented, just had trouble with his command.
3-0 on Bobo. Matt Scott. And now Thomas Eager coming to talk to plate umpire Doug Vines about something.
And this is all buying time. That's all this is. This is some gamesmanship inside the game, slowing it down, trying to heat up Dugan in the pen.
Now a mound visit. So mound visit Thomas Eager arriving at the Hill, the Stanford pitching coach. NCAA Regionals coverage for all 16 sites continues on ESPN Plus and the ESPN app. For information, visit ncaa.com, the home for all 90 NCAA championships. There is Dugan tuning up. Thomas Eager. Lengthy conversation with Matt Scott. Now the meeting is broken up by Doug Vines. Signals to everybody, again with the regulations on number of mound visits, that counts as an official visit.
Not the little conversation he had with him to buy more time.
But when he crossed the line and went to the mound.
Correct.
Matt Scott approaching 50 pitches. And that's ball 4. There's 2 on. Bobo walks for a second time.
Well, now the Titans set up first and second, no outs. The right-handed Lotta coming up and the left-handed White behind him. Now, you're thinking on both sides. Right, Neil Walton runs the offense for the Titans. You would expect to sacrifice bunt here. But if you elect to do that, you also know that David Esker could say, well, we're not going to let the left-handed White hit. So, and now we're going to have a pitching change.
Thomas Eager after the 3-0 visit. And the walk completed to Bobo. Stanford going to the bullpen. Nick Dugan coming out. Stanford up 3-2, bottom of the third, elimination game on the farm. Freshman Nick Dugan from way up in Northern California. Almost all the way to the Oregon border from Eureka. There is numbers, but I think the numbers are a little deceiving for Dugan. You see the ERA at 8.15. But Dugan has pitched really well recently. And Dugan comes in here with 2 on and nobody out. Stanford clinging to a 3-2 lead. Dugan worked at the Pac-12 tournament, went 6 innings against Oregon. Gave up 2 runs against the Ducks with 4 strikeouts and no walks on May 25th. So that was
last Thursday.
A week ago Thursday.
But the no walks is tremendous for Dugan, because that's what's been his problem also. Quite frankly, with the entire Stanford pitching staff this year, the walks have been their nemesis. He's got a tremendous changeup, but I think this right here, this situation here, is just beautiful part of baseball, right? What is Neil Walton, who runs the offense for the Titans, going to do right now? Is he going to bunt the 2 runners over? If you're David Esker, well, okay. He's saying, yeah, go ahead, bunt him over, because I'm going to put White on and load the bases, because Guzman, who hits behind White, is the right-hand hitter, and he strikes out about 1 every 3 at-bats. So that's a decision you need to make. If you're running the offense, if you're Neil Walton, do I want to give up White's left-handed bat in this situation? It's the beauty of our game.
Two on, nobody out. Maddox Lotta, an RBI single in the first. Corners playing up, expecting the bunt. From the 5-hitter for the Titans, Nick Dugan. Bunted in front of the plate, picked up. Dugan has 1 play. Gets the out at first.
This should be an automatic for me. We're going to put this runner on.
That's what they do. Sacrifice a ton. And they did it right there to move the runner along, and now 2 in scoring position with 1 out.
I will be surprised if they don't put White on right here.
Infield hit in the first for Carter White. And a curve, a comebacker off the glove of Dugan. Cobb throws low to first, and Carter Graham can't dig it out. Tie game.
Well, it's the second errant throw that we have seen from Owen Cobb at short, who has been so good this year for Stanford, but it's a ground ball off the glove of Dugan, and Cobb gets there. He just throws it in the dirt. Carter Graham can't pick it on the backside. And now the Titans are in the spot where they love to be, first and third. They can do a lot of stuff here. Safety squeeze with Guzman. And I just mentioned Guzman has trouble making contact. He strikes out about 1 every 3 plate appearances. So safety squeeze is in play right here with Guzman.
Bunting, first base side. Carter Graham has trouble with it. Too late. Stanford's their own worst enemy right now. Cal State Fullerton. Still only 1 out. And that'll bring up Moises Guzman. Or rather, correction, Cole Ehrman, who homered in the second. from Dugan is inside. Stanford has committed 3 errors in this game.
Well, this is what the Titans just ran. It's a safety squeeze, and a safety squeeze is the runner at third is going to make sure the ball is down, and based on where it's located, he'll make a decision on whether he's going to try to score.
Strike from Nick Dugan. 4-3 Cal State Fullerton in a quick bounce back after Tommy Troy's homer in the top of the inning, giving Stanford the lead. 2-2. Carter White at second, Moises Guzman after the infield hit at first. Reaching for to bounce it to short. Cobb to Drew Bowser. That's all they'll get. Hit the out at second base. Carter White goes to third. Runners at the corners. 2 outs for Jack Haley. It changed the ruling on once. Only 2 errors given to Stanford today. But 2 runs here in the left to the third to give the Titans the lead. Haley a ground out his first time up. Nick Dugan trying to wiggle out of it and keep this a 1-run game.
Well, don't put it past that the Titans wouldn't try a double steal here and send Ehrman at first. Doesn't matter if he can run or not. It makes the Cardinal have to make a play.
Cal State Fullerton, quick starts that they've gotten off to the last couple of games. Today against Stanford, then you look at, they scored in each of the first 6 innings against San Jose State yesterday. And they have the runner hung up as breaking was Cole Ehrman. Drew Bowser chasing him back, now throws, breaking for the plate, and out. And running into and out of the plate was Carter White as Cal State Fullerton tried to catch the Cardinal napping.
Well, they did. We talked about it. It's just a part of the offense of the Titans, and Ehrman steps off early. Unfortunately for the Titans, the Cardinals execute this play very well.
But Cal State Fullerton takes the lead. They get 2 and a 4-3 lead as we go to the 4th. Cal State Fullerton as we go to the 4th. And for the Cardinal, it'll be 5, 6, and 7. Alberto Rios, Malcolm Moore, Drew Bowser. Against Trevor Hinkle, it's turned into a battle of the bullpens early in this elimination game. Cal State Fullerton has scored in each of the first 3 innings. Running into an out to end the bottom of the 3rd. Rios a fly out in the 2nd. He is 0 for 1. Trevor Hinkle. Peyton Jones went the first 2 and a 3rd. Rios, the Pac-12 Player of the Year. Stanford is the visiting team despite the host of this regional at Sunken Diamond. And Rios rips it to left, and it falls in front of Carter White. Stanford has got the leadoff guy on now in each of the last 3 innings.
Yeah, they have. The offense has been pretty much normal. for Stanford, it's the defensive execution or lack thereof that has caused them trouble today.
Reminds me of the old John McKay interview when he was coaching the Buccaneers.
Go ahead.
Former USC coach as well, and this is when they were an expansion team back in the 70s. And the media is asking John McKay, hey, what do you think about your offense's execution? And John McKay says, yep, I'm all for it. Malcolm Moore sprays one the other way, shaded toward the line, going back. Carter White makes the catch. Drew Bowser, the batter, struck out in the second. He's 0 for 1. 3 runs, 6 hits, 2 errors for Stanford, 4 runs on 5 hits for Cal State Fullerton. Texas A&M will get the winner tonight, 6 p.m. locally, 9 Eastern. Ball 1 to Drew Bowser. Alberto Rios, the runner at first. Trevor Hinkle. Bowser pulls it through the left side. Stanford's got 2 on with 1 out, and here comes Timo Becerra.
You want to take a shot at how many runs going to win this game?
I'm going to say you're going to need double digits.
We have been here where 20 runs has not won the game.
That was a few weeks ago in the Sunday game when Stanford was trying to sweep Arizona. And the Cardinal will put up 20 runs in a game for the second time in the span of a week. Lost in 10 innings, 21-20.
Speaking of Arizona, a team that beat Arizona in the Fayetteville Regional, TCU is up 14-1 over #1 seed Arkansas at the top of the 3rd in a rain delay. A lot of weather back there.
Just off the outside, Becerra singled and scored in 3rd, and the guy for TCU in that game,
I think, has done something incredible.
2
Grand slams.
14-1. That game in a weather delay in the 3rd inning in Fayetteville.
I believe it's Richardson for TCU has got 2 grand slams.
Trey Richardson, 2 slams, 14-1. 6 in the first for the Horned Frogs, 5 in the second, 3 in the third. Of course, their head coach, the former Cal State Fullerton Titan.
Mr. Van Horn?
No. Kirk Sarloos. Just high to Becerra. And of course, Jim Schlossnagel, the coach at Texas A&M, went from TCU to A&M. Both of his kids recently graduating from TCU. Two and 2 on Becerra. Did it go? Yes, he did. He tried to hold up. And there's 2 gone. The second strikeout for Hinkle. That will leave it up to Owen Cobb.
It's a good breaking ball. Perfectly located down and away, and Becerra can't lay off this pitch, and a big second out of this inning.
2 on, 2 out. Cobb struck out in the 3rd. He's 0 for 1. The order on deck for the Cardinal. Strike 1 as Hinkle gets ahead of Owen Cobb. By the way, the largest deficit that Arkansas has come back from this year, 4 runs. 0-2 on Cobb.
The way TCU played in that Big 12 tournament, I mean, they looked so good, and it's carried on. Took care of Arizona in game 1, and then just burying the host team, Arkansas.
Cobb a bouncer to third. That's gloved just wide of the bag by Zach Lou. Do it again. No balls, 2 strikes. Runners go back. Oh and 2 on Owen Cobb. Nate Jones started 2 1/3, giving up 3 runs on 5 hits. And now Hinkle trying to keep Cal State Fullerton in front. 1 and 2 the count on the senior shortstop of the Cardinal. Stanford last night jumped out to a 4-1 lead. Could not extend it. Texas A&M came back and made him pay for it. They had chances. They surrendered 13 runners last night. Finally finding the baseball is Cole Herman as Rios stayed at second, Bowser at first. Two and 2 on Cobb. Stanford looking for win number 40. Pac-12 regular season champions. Oregon won the Pac-12 tournament championship and got the automatic berth for the league. Cobb, a weak grounder, tough play. Hinkle stumbles, falls down, and the ball dribbles over to first. They're loaded. Infield hit for Cobb. Even if Hinkle kept his footing, was going to be a tough play.
It was, but a tremendous play on the back end by Caden Connor. Watch this effort he gives the Titans to keep this ball going down the right field line.
Hinkle tried to throw it when he was
ill-advised throw,
sitting on his wallet over there. Although I don't know how many people keep the wallet in the back pocket.
I don't have one.
You don't carry one?
I don't carry one. Haven't carried one.
Ball 1 to Eddie Park, who's 1 for 2 with a run. I keep it in the front.
What's in your wallet?
You don't want it. You remember my son plays hockey. So there's not much money in there. Want to know the count. Hinkle. Park slaps it the other way, foul, 1-1.
Park is such an interesting hitter. He seems to be more dangerous with 2 strikes. Again, a contact hitter, and he could spray the ball anywhere in this situation.
Fouled straight back. 1 and 2 the count. Eddie Park last year was 14 for 20 in the regional round. Was the most outstanding player of that tournament. Eddie Park so far 6 for 11 in this tournament. 1 and 2. He has such a good eye at the plate, such a disciplined hitter, and again, if you're a pitcher facing Eddie Park, you get so frustrated because he can spoil, drag out an at-bat, and make you throw pitch after pitch to get him out, and then you might be on pitch 10 or 11 and he still finds a way on base. No swing and appeal.
He's just a pain right now. The alignment of the outfield for the Titans is interesting because Carter White is playing him in. And that's what you would normally do on a hitter like Eddie Park. He's playing him in, but the right fielder, Nate Nankiel, is playing him deep.
He's got power. He's got 6 homers. And he checked his swing, and ball 4 was coming in, and Eddie Park knew it. He just kind of is nodding his head.
Well, Hinkle has thrown him hard in 3 times in this at bat, and they've been awkward foul balls by Eddie Park.
Merry-go-round will be going here. 2 down. That's ball 4, and we got a tie game. That's a prototypical Eddie Park at bat.
That's who he is. That's who he is. And now you start getting into danger with Tommy Troy, who has already done some big-time damage in this game. The 3-run homer to left central.
Speaking of that homer that Tommy Troy hit his last at bat.
2-0 pitch from Peyton Jones, and he doesn't miss it.
Just to the left of dead center, that big batter's eye out there. Here is Tommy Troy, hitting up over 400 this season. He's 2 for 2 today. 3-run shot, his 16th home run. Multi-hits in 9 of the last 11 games for Troy, who had a great postseason last year. 5 home runs in the NCAA tournament a year ago, and tied Eddie Park for the most hits by anybody in the NCAA tournament with 21. Activity in the Titans bullpen is that one's tapped up the third base side, foul off the foot of Troy.
Well, if Troy struggles with anything, it's with an off-speed pitch down and away, and that's something that Hinkle, that's his bread and butter. But it puts a lot of pressure on Cole Ehrman, the catcher for the Titans, because you know the pitch is coming. Now, Jason Dietrich is talking to home plate umpire Doug Vines about something. Probably wants to know where the ball, is it a foul ball or?
We've seen an ongoing dialogue from both dugouts with Doug Vines. 0-1 on Troy. Bowser at third, Cobb at second, Park at first base. Trevor Hinkle. 1-strike pitch. Troy lines it to center, and that is a basket catch in center field by Moises Guzman. That ball was stung by Tommy Troy, and Guzman is able to come in and make the grab. Stanford leaves him loaded. Tie ball game to the last of the 4th. Tie game as we go to the bottom of the 4th. We're joined by the Stanford head coach. Back-to-back Pac-12 Coach of the Year honors for David Esker. And Eske, in this elimination game, your team has faced this before. What is it about a game like this that you like to see or you're not seeing yet from your team?
Well, early on, I thought the rhythm was really poor. You know, I thought we played a little tight. And hey, you'd like to see your guys just play relaxed, right? We're playing to keep the jersey on, and you want to see them just kind of go out there and be themselves. And, you know, we're not doing that yet. Glimpses, and you know, nothing's given us that big sigh of relief and that breath that allows us to play. Tommy Troy's had a couple really good at-bats, but we're going to have to play loose before this thing's all said and done, or you know, they're going to put some pressure on us and take it from us.
Well, Eske, early in the game, you pulled them all together in the dugout. I mean, what was the message?
Yeah, you know, the message was just what I said. You know, like, hey, the rhythm of the game's not good here. You know, we're just kind of we're not loose enough. You know, we work really hard. You know, get the Stanford kids to get them to play loose and free, and just not to control the game with their thoughts, and not try to control it with technique. And you know, so we just say, hey, man, if we're gonna go down, let's do it our way, which is just loose and free.
0-2 the count on Jack Haley. And David, your team had to battle back through the losers bracket last year to win the regional. A lot of guys went through it right now in your lineup a year ago. Can they draw on that experience?
Yeah, they do. You know, the mindset is, hey, we've been here before, right? We've done this before. And so it's just about, hey, you know, we got to play well to do that. But the experiences there haven't gone through and played, you know, 2 games today and then find a way to dig out that last one. And you know, hopefully we get our feet on the ground and just, you know, get to playing. The good thing about this is if we're going to advance, we're going to maybe get hot while we're in the tournament, right? And that always bodes well. We're going to come off a win every time, and hopefully hopefully we'll get ourselves hot and just playing relaxed and let the game feel normal to us again.
David, thanks for the time.
Okay, guys, thanks.
David Esker, the head coach of Stanford, joining us as Jack Haley squeezes one through the middle of the infield. And a leadoff base runner hit number 6 for the Titans. Top of the order now. Zach Lou 0 for 2 with a run. Reached on an error to lead off the game. 4-4, bottom 4. Fouled off.
Boy, the Titans put so much pressure on you when they have base runners. It makes you defensively, again, have to shorten up. You see Tommy Troy is going to be on the grass because even though Lou leads the club in home runs, he could drop one down.
One ball, one strike on Lou. Mentioned that Stanford had to draw. Could they draw their experience from a year ago? And Stanford actually been in this position a number of times in recent tournaments. In the air, center field, drifting over is Eddie Park. Lines it up, one gone. Haley back to first, and I was chatting with Stanford pitching coach Thomas Eager before the game, and he was saying, look, I've been in this game, this elimination game on Sunday, the first game of the day, 6 times the last 7 years, or 7 tournaments. Of course, there was no tournament during the COVID season of 2020. But 6 of the last 7 tournaments, he's been in this spot.
Well, they do have the roster to come through the losers bracket and win a regional. There's no question about it.
One out. Haley at first. Caden Connor 0 for 2, a couple of flyouts, a couple of deep flyouts. Connor in this one. Nick Dugan, after Matt Scott threw the first couple of innings and was lifted in the 3rd. But you go back to last year, and David Esker and Stanford, now what they've done when they've hosted regionals is Esker has chosen to play the day game on Friday, not the night game. The host team has the option on the first day of which game they want to play in. They've chosen the day game, and worked last year. David Esker held back as number 1. He didn't start Alex Williams, who was the Pac-12 pitcher of the year last year. He started Joey Dixon in that game. Is Caden Connor out toward right center. Hangs up there for Braden Montgomery, and there's 2 outs. Back to first, Haley, Nate Nankill coming in. And it lined up well. They put up 20 runs. They hammered Binghamton. Drew Bowser hit a grand slam in that game. Tommy Troy homered twice in a 20-7 win. So it's set up to have their ace go in the 1-0 winners bracket game against Texas State, but the Bobcats beat Alex Williams. Texas State won the game 5-2. So Stanford had to come back through the losers bracket. In the air, right center field from Nankill. This is going to carry all the way to the wall. Around third, they're going to send Jack Haley. Drew Bowser will not make a relay throw. 2-out RBI double, and the Titans go back on top. Second double for Nankill.
Well, we saw the leadoff base runner get on for the Titans in this inning, and how many times they score, Roxy? What's the percentage?
Well, it's on leadoff walks.
Real good job by Nankill. It goes the other way, and just like that, Titans put another run on the board.
So 5-4. Brendan Bobo has walked twice and scored a run. Cleanup batter for Cal State Fullerton. 2-out RBI double from Nankill. And in the dirt, taken off. Nankill goes to third on a wild pitch. One 1-0 on Bobo.
We talked about Dugan. His best pitch is his changeup, and when it's successful, it's in the dirt. Puts a lot of pressure on the freshman Moore behind the dish for Stanford.
Another inning with a run. Pop back behind the plate. Malcolm Moore will have a play. And he's got it to retire the side. A run for Cal State Fullerton. Nate Nankill with the Titans back in front as we head to the 5th. Destination Omaha. These two teams, Stanford and Cal State Fullerton, have been to Omaha combined 36 times.
That's a lot of times.
6 national championships won between the Cardinal and Cal State Fullerton.
I can tell you, you'll never forget it if you get there for the rest of your life.
The only regional with multiple contestants from last year's College World Series. Carter Graham leads off the 5th. Part of the order for Stanford. Stanford has been in each of the last 2 College World Series. Carter Graham 0 for 2. Stanford having to come back again through the losers bracket. So after they lost to Texas State, Saturday night game last year. And in that game, Carter Graham was injured. He went chasing after a foul ball in back of first base, and he slammed into the fence where it jumps out down the right field side and injured his knee. Now he finished that game against Texas State. I take it back, he did go out, and he had to leave the game with a leg injury, so he was not available in this game last year. The elimination game on the Sunday afternoon against UC Santa Barbara. And Stanford won that game largely due to the outstanding relief work of Quinn Matthews. 6 innings out of the bullpen. Drew Dowd started that game. Stanford won this game 8-4 against UCSB. Popped up, out of play from Graham. As in that game against the Gauchos, Stanford did not homer, but they had 15 hits to eliminate UC Santa Barbara. So they advanced to Sunday night in the regional final against Texas State. Again, because of the double elimination format, they had to beat him twice. Graham bounces one foul. Graham, who was not available in the first game, was cleared in DH in the second game despite that leg injury. And he homered twice in the night game. 8-4, they beat Texas State behind Ty Huber, who started that game. Huber got the win. And Graham draws a leadoff walk, and Stanford has a start in the 5th. The leadoff base runner. That'll bring up Braden Montgomery, who's 1 for 2. So Carter Graham, who could barely even walk. Like, I'm not going to go all Kirk Gibson on you with Carter Graham, but
only one of those.
He homered in the first inning of that game against Tony Roby with Brock Jones aboard for Stanford. Then he hit another one, 2-run shot in the first, a 3-run blast in the 4th. Then later on, Drew Bowser homered. And an 8-4 win for Stanford to force the game on Monday night. And then in that elimination game on Monday, Braden Montgomery actually pitched an inning and 2/3 in that game. 3 strikeouts, I should add. Stanford, it was a 1-1 ball game until the 9th. And in the top of the 9th, back-to-back walks led it off. Issued by Montgomery. Texas State, the cleanup batter, Wesley Faison, a 2-run single, and the Bobcats had a 3-1 lead to go to the bottom of the 9th. Did he go? No swing. On appeal to Tim Winningham at 3rd. And lead off the bottom of the 9th against a lights-out bullpen. And Zeke Wood, fabulous closer. I take it back. Wood was a starter they brought back. 3-1 on Montgomery as they started their closer in that game, Tristan Stivers, who led the country with 18 saves. And he threw 7 innings, struck out 9. They brought their first 2 starters back to try to close it out. Stephen Trout, the head coach at Texas State. Full count on Montgomery now. So Zeke Wood starting the 9th. Correction, Levi Wells would work the 8th. then started the ninth, and Wood gave up back-to-back homers to Drew Bowser and Tommy Troy to tie the game. Strike 3 call to Montgomery has gone looking. Strikeout for Hinkle, 1 away.
Good pitch by Hinkle. It's a fastball on the outside part. Very uncharacteristic of Braden Montgomery to take a pitch like this on a 3-2 count. Perfectly located by Hinkle.
Right at the bottom of the zone, Alberto Rios 1 for 2 of the run will be the hitter. So Wood, yes, I was confusing myself. Zeke Wood started that ninth inning. You were on 2 pitches, back to back. Bowser, Troy, 3-3 ball game. Then Eddie Park against Levi Wells, who came out of the bullpen. Singled as Stanford got the winning run on. Was bunted along after Texas State intentionally walked Brock Jones. Seldom used Trevor Haskins. The walk-off single to win the regional, and Stanford in the bottom of the ninth scored 3 and won at 4-3. Then on to the Supers. Fouled away by Rios. So Stanford had to deal with 3 elimination games in the regional. Winning this game, had to win Sunday night and then Monday night to advance. And then lost the opening game of the Supers to UConn before winning the last 2 to go to Omaha for the 18th time in school history.
Now, if you asked me to do a summary of what you just said to pass a class, I would fail. I'm going to have to retake the class.
Just the key is all you got to know is they lost the Saturday night game, had to win 3 elimination games, and in dramatic fashion walked it off and won the Stanford Regional. On the ground is short. Haley on a backhand flips to second. That slide on to first and a double play for Cal State Fullerton. Nicely turned by the Titans. Good defense from Cal State Fullerton. They hang on to a 5-4 lead as we head to the bottom half of the 5th.
Well, they were tied as the best defense in the Big West with UC San Diego. You see a little bit of it right here.
Cal State Fullerton leads Stanford as we go to the home half of the 5th. As we're joined by the head coach of the Cal State Fullerton Titans, Jason Dietrich. And elimination game number 2 for you, Jason. You went through it yesterday, found a way to win. What are you seeing from your guys today?
Hey, we're coming out fighting. Our guys doing a good job of marking each inning. They've done, Stanford, it's going to be a dogfight, as you guys know, but our guys can come out, swinging the bats, putting some pressure on them, and answering when they scored.
Well, Jace, you guys played these guys in the first series of the year, and you were very, very competitive. How important was that series, knowing you didn't know you were going to end up in an elimination game in a regional, but it's easy to look back on that series to your players. They know they can compete with Stanford.
Yeah, well, Stanford's a great club. We all know that. And we had an unbelievable opening weekend series with these guys, and we wouldn't expect anything less today, so hopefully we can keep it going. But yeah, they're a great club, and our guys know that we just do our job and play our style of baseball. We can compete with anybody.
Your style of baseball, you were half joking as Maddox slide in the air to left and Alberto Rios comes in to make the catch. But half joking, you said we do it with smoke and mirrors. But you put a lot of pressure on the defense. How much of that is by design?
Well, it's just recognizing what our offense is and what we can do with each guy. And that's important for Coach Walton to run his offense. And we have to know what each guy can do, what their strengths are. So we like to do the little things. We're not going to hit out of the park like Stanford does at that rate. So we have to make sure we manufacture runs, get them on, get them over, and get them in, and be tough at bats. And if that's small ball, we'll do the small ball to see if guys can feel their position. So that's part of our style. They've done a great job, and we'll keep it going the rest of the game.
Well, how do you handle your pitching for the rest of the game? You had Hinkle out there; he's done a good job. But is it all hands on deck for you?
It is. It is. We have get him back out there, and then it's get to the next guy, and we're gonna keep on passing the baton. And this is an elimination game, so we're not saving for the next game. We have to go after this game, and then we can assess after that.
Jason, thanks for the time.
Okay, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Jason Dietrich, the head coach of Cal State Fullerton. 1-1 on Carter White. 1 out, last of the 5th.
Good changeup by Dugan.
Cal State Fullerton getting the automatic bid for the Big West, even though they did not win the league, and the Big West does not have a conference tournament. Regular season champ recognized as the automatic bid. However, the regular season champs are not eligible for the NCAA tournament this year because UC San Diego, who won the Big West, is going through a probationary period of 4 years transitioning from Division II to Division I, not eligible to go to the NCAA tournament. They are recognized as the conference champs. Bouncer to short, charging it. Owen Cobb needs to hurry, and he does. 2 outs. And so Cal State Fullerton gets the berth because they finished second to UC San Diego. Tritons will get the crown, but the Titans get the berth.
I'm not sure I like that rule. Do you?
I guarantee you UC San Diego doesn't. But look, it is what it is. Certainly not an advantage to move up a level and play, but here's the season the Titans had, and they overcame a late losing streak to get it back on the rails, and Jason Dietrich was able to get this team into the tournament. Scooped on a short hop, Tommy Troy. Low throw and a dig by Carter Graham at first. Tommy Troy barking at the plate umpire Doug Vines, who signaled safe, saying, "I caught it." And that dialogue continues. 1-2-3 inning. 5-4, Cal State Fullerton with the 6th.
For around-the-clock multi-game coverage, scores, and highlights, check out Squeeze Play, available on the ESPN app throughout college baseball regionals.
5-4, Cal State Fullerton, by the way. Scan that, get the QR code, and jump on and watch Squeeze Play.
I could if I could find my phone.
Do you know how to use the QR code?
Absolutely not, unless it tells me. I mean, somebody has to tell me.
Mike Rooney wants another viewer. Explain it to you. Malcolm Moore the other way, slicing to left, and sliding and making the catch. Spinning around out there, Carter White's good break on it, out number 1.
Carter White has made some very good plays in left field, all across, down the line to the gap, coming in on balls. Get a look at it here.
Drew Bowser singled in the 4th. He's 1 for 2. Trevor Hinkle. All the way by Bowser as Hinkle took over in the 3rd. Mentioned the elimination games that Stanford has dealt with. If you go back to the '87 national title run, the first of the back-to-back championships for Stanford, when David Esker was the starting shortstop as a senior for Mark Marquis. Stanford won 3 elimination games along the way. 0 in the regional. All 3 coming in the College World Series. And keep it in mind, back then there was no super regional round. There were 8 6-team regionals, 48 teams made the field. But they won 3 elimination games at Rosenblatt Stadium. Just missed to Bowser. And then in '88, during that title run, second of the back-to-backs, Stanford won 8 elimination games along the way. 4 in the regional round, and then 4 more at the College World Series. Bowser fooled. Stanford played Cal State Fullerton 3 times in Omaha, losing the winner's bracket first game, and then came back to beat the Titans 2 in a row. Those were the first 3 of the now 20 postseason games. The second most played matchup of the tournament. Full count on Bowser. 1 out, top of the 6th. A good story about early in that '87 season. David Esker was the shortstop for Stanford. And Bowser draws a 1-out walk. Stanford has a base runner. That is the 3rd issued by Hinkle. And Timo Becerra coming up for Stanford. So in a game early in the season on the road, David Esker, who was maybe not going to be the starting shortstop on that team. He was battling for the position with a freshman who got injured. And so that elevated David into that role. He's been a valuable player throughout his career, coming up in big spots for them, but hadn't really been in the lineup consistently. And David Esker made a costly error in a game early in the season that cost Stanford a ball game. And they were busted back. I want to say the game was like in Fresno State or somewhere that was a bus trip. And David Esker, the team stopped halfway getting off the bus to grab something to eat on the way home. David Esker was beside himself. He would not get off the bus. He was so angry and frustrated with himself. Becerra drive, left field, Carter White back, Timo Becerra home run. Stanford takes the lead. The second of the season for Becerra.
Well, we talked about in order to keep winning and advancing in the postseason, you're going to need production from the ones that have not really produced. And Becerra, it's a fastball in, and he doesn't miss it. And just like that, the Cardinal on top again.
Second homer for Stanford today, and Becerra, the unlikely hero for the moment, 6'5" Cardinal. Owen Cobb, who singled and walks, takes ball one. So Becerra, home run number 109 for Stanford. And it gives them the lead. Hinkle, the 1-0. Cobb, this one. Leaping grab, what a play. Caden Connor up the ladder at first base. Outstanding by the Titans first baseman.
Get some hops from Connor at first base. We talked to him yesterday. What did he say about the dye in the hair, right? He said, what is it? Bobo's girlfriend dyed, what, 30 players or something?
Dyed it blonde. The hops like that, Dedrick Taylor, the hoops coach at Cal State Fullerton, may want to take a look at Caden Connor.
All first basemen have hops.
No.
Yeah, they do.
Eddie Park 1 for 2 with an RBI and a run. Yeah, the big bases loaded walk in the fourth that brought in a run. And it's 1-1. So David Esker wouldn't get off the bus. He was so upset and angry with himself. And Dean Stott's longtime aide to Mark Marquis, assistant coach for the Cardinal, left the fast food restaurant they were in to go back on the bus and talk to David Esker. Dean, a frequent visitor here for ball games, even though he's not coaching anymore at Stanford, still very involved with the Stanford baseball community. So Dino gets on the bus to talk to Esker, and he goes, basically read him the riot act. What the heck is wrong with you? Cleaning it up, of course. And kind of chewed out David for sulking and beating himself up over it. It's going to happen. He kept laying into him. You got to get over this, because you know what? We have a chance to win the national championship. And if you don't get over this, and if you let this eat at you, and you don't turn the page, you're costing the rest of the team. And eventually David was able to muster up enough to leave the bus, go get something to eat, was able to turn the page, and then he solidified the Stanford infield and was able to help lead them to a national championship.
It is a tough thing as a player.
2-2 on Eddie Park. 6-5 Stanford in the 6th. Fights it off.
But back to your story, it is a tough thing as a player. A lot of times you'll make an error and you let it bother you. And I'll never forget my first big league spring training, Phil Garner, scrap iron, playing second base. I booted a ball and I came in the dugout and he said, hey, and again, Gar is probably your height. I mean, all of 5'2", possibly.
5'10", keep going.
But he told me, hey kid, don't ever let anybody, let the fans, your opposition, or anybody know how you're feeling out there with your body language. It stuck with me forever, and I never did it again. But it is something you have to have a short memory when you play baseball, because the next ball, you want that next ball. You have to expect it.
Reaching for it, fought off by Eddie Park. Spoils that pitch. May have been ball 4.
But that's the only thing you can do when you're playing defense. You make a ball, an error, give me the next one. Give me the next one. Give me the next one.
Two-run homer from Timo Becerra. Stanford has the lead again. And Park sends it down toward the Titans bullpen. Now, even though Stanford is a visiting team in this game, they're still able to occupy their customary home dugout on the first base side. Full count, Eddie Park battling with Trevor Hinkle. Another ball spoiled by Eddie Park.
Isn't that what he does?
I'm sure there's some pitchers at this point.
Just drill him.
I'm not dealing with this guy anymore.
I'm just gonna
drill him.
I'm gonna drill him and put it. And we say it affectionately, folks. We're not trying to get anybody hurt. But yeah, it's just like, hey, you want to get on base at bat?
On the ground is short. Jack Haley retires Park. Side retired. Stanford, though, goes back on top, courtesy of Timo Becerra.
Well, it's not Troy, it's not Graham, it's not Montgomery, it's not Rios, not Moore, not Bowser, it's Becerra who leaves the yard to give the Cardinal the lead.
NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? Cole Irvin takes a strike from Nick Dugan, leading off the home 6th. 8-9-1. Cal State Fullerton, 6-5 Stanford, this elimination game.
Well, my apologies to the Cardinal fans out there. I have misrepresented, calling them the Cardinals, and if I started with $2.75 today with my allowance that you give me, Roxy, and I had to pay 10 cents for every time that I made an error from Cardinal to Cardinals, I would be out of money. My apologies.
It's not the first or the last name you'll butcher. Leaping grab, Drew Bowser needing all a 6'4" frame to get Cole Irvin. And there's one out.
I can't argue that.
Once Wes butchers a name, it stays with him. Well, although eventually you came around with Gonzaga. Took you one.
Gonzaga?
Gonzaga.
You mentioned Bowser there with the leap and the catch. You could argue this is the tallest middle infield in the country. With Bowser at 6'4" and Owen Cobb at 6'3". Big inning, obviously, for the Cardinal and Nick Dugan.
Jack Haley 1 for 2 with a run.
Yep. You start looking ahead for David Esker and Thomas Eager, the pitching coach, how they're going to handle their bullpen in the rest of this game, because Ryan Bruno is one of the best left-handers in the country. He's yet to throw this regional. Last night we saw Drew Dowd, again, a tremendous left-handed reliever, but he threw 38 pitches yesterday.
So the loss last night, 3-0, not a guy you want to lose. And Haley takes a strike, the 9-hitter, it's 3-1. That is Dowd, who's beginning to get loose here in the bottom of the 6th with 1 out. And that missed, and it's ball 4, and Haley is on. 1 out walk. We go back to the top of the order, and Zach Liu, who's 0 for 3 today. The Women's College World Series going on in Oklahoma City. It's Stanford and Washington right now over on ABC. Scoreless in the 6th inning. The winner against Oklahoma. Good luck.
1 loss Oklahoma for the entire year, that team?
That game will be tomorrow at noon Eastern. A couple of Pac-12 teams still in the Women's College World Series. They had 3 to begin the tournament. Utah was eliminated by Washington. Shockingly, UCLA went 2-Q, as they say.
Incredible.
Number 2 national seed in the regional round.
Losing to Grand Canyon and Liberty.
Huge foul by Zach Liu.
Looking ahead, you have Connor, the left-handed Connor, on deck. If you're getting Drew Dowd up right now, you would think it's for Connor, the on-deck hitter.
One and 2 on Zach Liu.
Two of the next 3 hitters for the Titans are left-handed. Connor on deck, and then Bobo behind Nanquil, the right-handed hitter.
Bouncer to short. Owen Cobb could be 2. Drew Bowser the turn. Not in time. Too late. Get the lead runner. They force Haley at second base. 2 outs. Liu is on, and here comes Caden Connor, who's 0 for 3.
Well, this ground ball, Owen Cobb has to make a decision. The minute he decides to back up, there's no more double play. I mean, if Owen Cobb makes a decision to come and get this ball, then you're going to turn a double play. But again, these are decisions that you have to make on the run and on the move and the instincts part of it. You could also argue that the main thing you got to get on that ground ball is an out, and they did get the out. But here comes Connor, and let's see, are they going to go to the pit and down?
Here comes Thomas Seager. Nick Dugan, who's thrown 42 pitches. He's done a good job in relief. 3 2/3 innings. And we'll see if Stanford will go to the bullpen.
I'm going 120% to going to the pen.
And they will make the pitching change. So Drew Dowd will come in. 6-5. Cardinal leading, 2 outs. Last of the 6th inning. And a good job from Nick Dugan. Sunken Diamond on the Stanford campus on this beautiful Sunday afternoon in the San Francisco Bay Area. With Wes Clements and our ESPN crew. Roxy Bernstein with you. 6-5, Stanford, 2 outs, last of the 6th. Drew Dowd comes in, the runner at first base, 2 outs. After 3 2/3 solid innings of work from Nick Dugan. And Dowd will face Caden Connor, probably the most dangerous hitter in the Cal State Fullerton lineup here, with a runner aboard and a 1-run lead.
Well, you understand the move by the Cardinal right now. I mean, Drew Dowd, again, he threw last night through 38 pitches, and once you make the decision to use Drew Dowd in this game, assuming the score stays the same, you're not going to see Drew Dowd again in tonight's game. I know you gave me that look like you never know.
Hey, it's all hands on deck.
And you're right, you never know. We've seen it happen before, but you'd probably say probably not. They have a very well-rested Ryan Bruno in the back end of his bullpen, one of the best in the country, but there's no question that Dowd's job right now is to get Connor, the left-handed hitter Connor, and then 2 hitters. There'll be 1, 2, 3 of the next 5 hitters for the Titans are left-handed, and Connor, Bobo, and White.
Zach Liu at first, 2 outs. Caden Connor, 3 flyouts, is 0 for 3. Dowd took the loss last night. Worked 2 innings, giving up 3 runs on 4 hits. Struck out 3. Did not walk a batter, but surrendered that 3-run double to Hunter Haas that broke the 4-4 tie. was in the starting rotation early in the year, started, went 4 1/3 against Cal State Fullerton back in that series in Fullerton. Started the second game and no decision. 4 1/3 innings, gave up 3 runs on 5 hits, 2 earned. Strike called to Caden Connor, 1-1. Bowser's out on the outfield grass, about 5 feet behind the infield dirt, the second baseman. Moved to first, bluffing was Zach. The outfield, it's funny, you look at the infield, the slight shift to pull. The outfield is pushed the other way for Caden Connor.
They are. Basically will tell you if a breaking ball is thrown to Connor, more times than not he will pull it. A fastball he will hit the other way.
Good curve from Dowd. 1-2 the count as Matt Scott started, gave up 4 runs, 3 earned in 2 innings. Was lifted in the third, did not record an out in the third inning, and that's when Dugan entered and took over.
Now the stolen base is in play for the Titans with 2 strikes and Lou at first. He can run. Worst case scenario, gets thrown out, and then Connor leads off the next inning.
Two on Caden Connor. Zach Lou runs very well at first base. Junior lefty Drew Dowd. Fouled off by Caden Connor.
Dowd staying in on the hands of Connor.
9 wins for Dowd this year, leading the Pac-12. Working out of the bullpen. 27th appearance for Drew Dowd. 9 of Stanford's 39 wins. He's been terrific in this role out of the bullpen. Though gave up a late 3-run double to Hunter Haas for A&M last night.
Here's where you throw back over to first again. They've yet to throw back-to-back tosses over to first.
Got him. Breaking ball, struck him out. Through 6, Stanford up a run, and Drew Dowd gets out of it with the strikeout.
Well, it's a nice slider from Drew Dowd. He came in, did his job. The Cardinal up a run.
Well, Stanford's had a lot of dual sport athletes, football, baseball, and that's one of them who won a Super Bowl. Former teammate of David Esker, that's Toy Cook, who won a Super Bowl with the 49ers, had a long career in the NFL. And Toy Cook on to cheer on his alma mater and his former teammates. As you look at the regional bracket where A&M is already in the regional final. And they're waiting our winner, this elimination game. Texas A&M 2-0 in this double elimination format, so whoever wins this game would need to win tonight to force a winner-take-all Game 7 tomorrow. It's Stanford Stadium, you saw right across the parking lot. JoJo Ingracia enters for Cal State Fullerton. Titans down a run.
Well, JoJo has been the best Titan out of the bullpen the entire year. And his job right now is just to keep this game right where it's at.
David Esker now coming out as our plate umpire, who may have needed a little bit of a break to go use the, I'm guessing, the little boys' room.
Esky, he's just walking. He needs more space.
No, the umpire was not on the field. Now, Doug Vines back to the plate. You remember the movie when Ace Ventura and Nature Calls, right?
The minute you say you remember,
you never saw Ace Ventura?
Is when I'm done. When you remember.
When Nature Calls, that was the second one.
No.
Only problem was, I guess, nature is about 400 feet away for Doug Vines. It's a final, by the way, the Women's College World Series. Stanford throws a one-hitter. They eliminate Washington. 1-0 Stanford softball team advances. As Tommy Troy waves it, pitch from JoJo and Gracia for strike one. Stanford now will play Oklahoma tomorrow and reaching the semis of the Women's College World Series. And of course, our colleague Jessica Mendoza in the booth there in Oklahoma City. I think Jess had to enjoy seeing Stanford get a win in the College World Series.
You'll see her shortly, won't you? And along with Tim Kirchin?
Week and a half. We got a Dodgers White Sox. Our producer was working with us today, Joe McCoy. Will be there.
Can I go? Everybody's going. Can I go? Well, this is the love I get.
May have to buy a ticket.
Well,
Dodger Stadium's not too far from your house.
$275 is what my allowance is every day from you, so.
Save up, I guess. Bouncer left side, tough play, and gets through into left. Off the glove of Jack Haley and a 3-hit game for Tommy Troy. Leadoff base runner, hit number 10 for Stanford. Trevor Hinkle gave up 3 runs on 4 hits and 3 2/3, and now Ingrassia gives up the hit to Troy.
Well, it's an off-speed pitch from Ingrassia, and Troy just finds that 5-6 hole, brings up Carter Graham, and Carter Graham's bat is going to have to wake up for me, Roxy, for the Cardinals. Excuse me, I did it again. I apologize for the Cardinal.
Got under this one. Pop up, going out, Jack Haley. Camps under it, makes the catch. And there's one out. Troy back to first for Braden Montgomery.
Boy, we have had 3 gorgeous days of weather here, haven't we?
We rub it into every other regional around the country.
Boy, there's a lot of rain.
There's
a rain delay in LSU. There's a rain delay at Vandy. And they have started again in Fayetteville, where TCU is up 14-1 at top of the 5th over Arkansas.
Braden Montgomery 1 for 3. JoJo Ingrassia, pitch, bounce back up the middle, could be 2. The shovel, Maddox line of a turn. Nicely done. Second time in the last 3 innings, Cal State Fullerton turns a double play. Time to stand and stretch on the farm. Stanford 6, Cal State Fullerton 5. Part of the order for the Titans. Our game track of this elimination game, Game 5 of the Stanford Regional. 6-5 Cardinal, number 8 national seed. Tommy Troy, a 3-run homer. The big one, though, Timo Becerra giving Stanford the lead in the 6th. After scoring in each of the first 4 innings, Cal State Fullerton has not put up a run in each of the last 2. Part of the order for Jason Dietrich and his Titans. Nate Nankill, Brendan Bobo, Maddox Lotta against Drew Dow.
5 of the 6 Cardinal runs via the home run, which doesn't surprise us, right?
That's what they do. Want to know the count? Nankill, a couple of doubles, an RBI, and a run scored today. On the ground and through in a 3-hit game for Nate Nankill and the leadoff base runner for Cal State Fullerton. 8 for the Titans. That'll bring up Brendan Bobo. He has walked twice and fouled out. Scored a run today.
See what the Titans elect to do here. They take the bat out of Bobo's hand and bunt. Nankill and put him in second scoring position.
Tommy Troy creeping up at third is a snap throw over by Dowd.
These are things you got to think about. With the runner being held at first, that 3-4 hole between Carter Graham and Drew Bowser is wide open for Bobo to hook something over through.
Strike for Dowd.
Tommy Troy in on the grass at third, just in case. You see him move over just a little bit now. Here's the only thing I would be thinking about, Roxy. If you're going to throw Bobo breaking balls, you see Drew Bowser, he's just playing straight up. And there's a big hole in the 3-4 hole. You think if you're going to throw him breaking balls that you might be cheating over to that hole.
Held off by Brendan Bobo. Cal State Fullerton led 1-0 after 1. An unearned run in the first. Zach Blue scoring after reaching on an error. Maddox Lotta singled him in. Led it 2-0 after 2 after Cole Ehrman left the ballpark with his 4th homer of the year. Did it go? Runner breaks late. Malcolm Moore throw down to second in time and out. Nate Nankill tried to take off on a pitch that bounced, and Malcolm Moore guns him down.
This is a great job by the freshman Malcolm Moore behind the dish. He blocks this breaking ball. Nankill at first. Shuffle, shuffle, takes off. We talked about the troubles that the freshman has had. Not here. This is a great, great play. And tag. And even though it bounced, it bounced far enough in front of the bag that Owen Cobb was able to get a good read on it. Elevating, Dowd gets the strikeout. Well, the most important part of that is just Malcolm Moore getting the release of the ball. It doesn't matter if it hops. And Manny Trio once told me, I've never seen a human being outrun a baseball ever.
Two outs, and Maddox Lotta, 1 for 2 with an RBI, will be the batter here in the last of the 7th. Stanford took a 3-2 lead. Tommy Troy, a 3-run blast in the 3rd, his 16th of the year. And then the Titans came right back in the bottom of the 3rd. RBIs for Carter White and Moises Guzman. It was 4-3 Cal State Fullerton after 3. Each team got a run in the 4th. Eddie Park, an RBI for Stanford, an RBI double for Nankill. The Titans, it was a 5-4 lead for Cal State Fullerton until Timo Becerra hitting his 2nd home run of the year, 2nd of the day for Stanford. 2-run shot. That's where we sit. 6-5 Cardinal. 2 outs, last of the 7th. And it's 2-1 on Lotta. In the air, right field, playable. Braden Montgomery circles under it. Side retired. Through 7. Stanford 6. Cal State Fullerton 5. Pac-12 Player of the Year. Alberto Rios leads off the 8th. Breakout star for the Stanford Cardinal. Pac-12 Player of the Year. Alberto Rios leads off the 8th. And a guy who did not have an at-bat in the postseason a year ago.
Just 7 during the regular season
last year, and tied a Pac-12 record. 11 RBIs in a game against Bakersfield back in early March. and a 3-homer, 9 RBI game against Arizona earlier this year. And coming into this year, look, David Esker will be the first one to tell you, I had no clue this was coming. No idea.
Nobody did. But early in the year, he had an 11 RBI game against Bakersfield. And it was an incredible game. But you just kind of looked at it as like, well, that's a good game.
Weak number, foul by Rios at the plate.
Little did we know it was just the start.
0-2 on Rios. Esker knew he'd get at bats. Was he going to play behind the plate? Occasionally, Malcolm Moore was the top recruit in the country for catchers. Rios going to DH? Was he going to play outfield? They'll take a look at him out there. And he rips that one down the left field line. Foul.
Well, this is when he gets real dangerous. Very similar to Eddie Park with 2 strikes. You'll watch him in the box. He moves up in the box. He'll move back, move off the plate. But with 2 strikes, how close was this? But he will shorten up his swing, try to put the ball in play.
Oh, 2 on Rios. Way outside from JoJo Ingracia. 1-2 the count is Ingracia. Transferred from San Diego State. Junior lefty. Rios getting some at-bats, and David Esker did the smart thing, kept him in the lineup. Chased that one, but it gets away from Ehrman. And a strikeout wild pitch, Alberto Rios is on. Even when you strike him out, he reaches base.
Well, you don't see this much from Cole Ehrman at all, a ball get past him.
By the way, talking about Trey Richardson earlier for TCU with his 2 grand slams against Arkansas today.
Yes.
Just homered again.
No way.
This one's only a 2-run shot, though. He's driven in 10 of the 16 runs. They lead 16-3. Have yourself a day, Trey Richardson.
Career for many.
And that 10 RBIs, keep in mind, is 1 short of what Rios drove in against the Roadrunners earlier this year. He had 11. Tied Bill Scott, who played for UCLA in 1999. Pac-12 record. Fouled off by Malcolm Moore.
Well, the Cardinals are trying to add to this 1-run lead here. Again, we're 6 outs away, right? You're trying to get 6 outs if you're David Esker, but you're nursing a 1-run lead. You get an opportunity where you get a leadoff hitter on with no outs.
And whoever wins this game comes back tonight against Texas A&M. As the Aggies in the driver's seat of the Stanford Regional after beating Stanford last night. 2-0 with victories over these 2 teams, Cal State Fullerton and Stanford. Last night did it in comeback fashion, trailing Stanford 4-1 after 3 innings last night. Hunter Haas king that comeback for Texas A&M. 2 doubles that drove in 5. 8-5 win, but Stanford made it interesting in the ninth. 2 outs and nobody on. Stanford got the tying run aboard and had the winning run of the plate when Troy Wansink got the final out. Moore lines into center, and that hangs up there for Moises Guzman. There's 1 away. Here comes Drew Bowser, who's walked, 1 for 2 of the run. second most played matchup in NCAA tournament history. A one-run game here in the 8th. The 20th all-time meeting in the postseason between Stanford and Cal State Fullerton. Only Miami has played Florida more than the Titans and Cardinal have done. The last time that, in fact, the last 2 times that Cal State Fullerton was in the field, 17 and 18, was at the Stanford Regional. Cal State Fullerton had a run of 27 consecutive years in the postseason ended. Trying to start a new streak by getting back in this year under Jason Dietrich. Stanford also hosting a regional for the 6th consecutive tournament, the only school in the country that can say they've been a host in each of the last 6. Bouncing ball toward the hole, cut off. Zach Lou to second, on to first, not in time. They force Rios in second. There's 2 outs, and that'll bring up Becerra. Two outs, Bowser is on. And Timo Becerra 2 for 3, and his homer in the 6th right now at Stanford in the lead. 2-run blast for Timo Becerra.
Only playing because they lost Sapien in game 1.
And he pinch hit as Jimmy Nadai started as the DH last night against A&M. And Becerra came in as a pinch hitter in the 5th inning. And he was hit by a pitch when Stanford in the 9th was trying to rally. In the dirt, taken off, Bowser will get to second without a throw. Second wild pitch in this inning for JoJo Ingracia.
Well, a big runner in Bowser at second base right now for the Cardinal. David Esker is just hoping some way, somehow, Becerra can knock him in and extend this lead from 1 to 2.
Becerra, ground ball to short. Jack Haley throws out Becerra. Titans are coming up. Down a run, bottom of the 8th we go. We mentioned the last time that Cal State Fullerton was in the tournament, it was at the Stanford Regional. Let's travel back to 2018. Here's a drive, deep right center. Back there, and Chamberlain has won it. A walk-off homer from the freshman Chamberlain, his first of the year. And Cal State Fullerton wins it.
And I guarantee you, having been around Rick and how he talks to this youngster, he said hit it out, and that's exactly what he did. And it's the greatest game in the world, Roxy.
Chase Jumbo Chamberlain.
That was incredible. I mean, was it that long ago, huh?
Yeah, 5 years. That was also the regional when Cal State Fullerton was here, where we met one of the best villains from a 1980 movie.
I know who you're talking about, but you're going to have to tell me.
McFly.
Yeah,
McFly.
That's right.
Back to the Future. New pitcher for Stanford as we go to the last of the 8th. Ryan Bruno, their closer, is in. First appearance in this regional. For Bruno, power fastball in the high 90s. 8 saves for Bruno this year. 47 strikeouts for the junior from Wellington, Florida. In 29 2/3, walks have been a problem for him, but he's been better, much better the second half of the year.
Well, every scout in the country knows who Ryan Bruno is. He's got a fastball upwards to 98. They'll tell you his best pitch is his changeup. But he also carries a slider along with it, and a little bit, what would they say? Tude?
Little attitude.
Tude.
Strike one to Carter White, who's 1 for 3 with an RBI. 2 for 3, rather, with an RBI. So Ryan Bruno can rush it up there. Finley for the stretch. To left, hit right at Alberto Rios. And Ryan Bruno was dominant in the postseason last year for Stanford as well. Moises Guzman, 1 for 3, will be the hitter. But the person we were alluding to, the antagonist from Back to the Future, the 1980s, that Cal State Fullerton fans will know well, Thomas Wilson, who played Biff Tannen in Back to the Future. Moises Guzman turns out of the way, ball 1. And his son was pitching on that Cal State Fullerton team. And that's why Thomas Wilson was here, and that drills Guzman. And a 1-out base runner. The tying run is on for the Titans, and Cole Ehrman coming up.
Well, this was, you will see this at times from Ryan Bruno. You talked about his walks, but hit by pitches, another. A lot of these guys that have this type of arsenal coming out of their arms, you'll see their numbers. Lottie strikeout numbers, but you'll see their ERA is not very low. Well, it's because they create their own problems via the base on ball, and in this case, a hit by pitch.
Cole Ehrman, who homered back in the second. We should add that Thomas Wilson could not have been a nicer guy when we were talking to him.
Yes, very nice man.
Nothing like the guy you saw in Back to the Future. Lifted down the right side, that ends up out of play. Ryan Bruno, he's always amped, but I think he's got a little extra mojo going today.
Well, he hadn't thrown for a while.
Catches the edge. Took something off. Well, Bruno last worked for Stanford at the Pac-12 tournament. Worked an inning and a third against Cal a week ago Wednesday.
Now, it's not the last time.
Taking a turn. And that moves Guzman into scoring position on a pass ball charge to Malcolm Moore. That may have crossed up the Stanford catcher.
Well, it looked a little bit awkward from Malcolm Moore. It hits his glove, but
2-2 on Cole Ehrman. And on the ground to shortstop, Owen Cobb. Low throw to first and dug by Carter Graham, who kept his foot on the bag. Boy, Owen Cobb. Wes, I wonder if he's fighting himself more than anything, because on a routine grounder, and he skipped the throw over there, and the umps will take a look at this as Cal State Fullerton has challenged the play at first base.
well, I think they're wondering if Carter Graham had his foot on the bag when he had possession of the baseball. And why wouldn't you challenge this if you're Jason Dietrich? You're chasing one run. You currently have 4 outs left, and Jason Dietrich's trying to have 5 outs left.
First glance at the replay, I didn't see anything that would change the call.
Well, we'll get a better look here. Check his foot. Is it on the bag with possession? And again, what we can't see is the shortstop side of Carter Graham where he has possession. First base umpire is Jeff Head.
Please tell me you're not getting in the neighborhood of completed the process of the catch.
No, I'm not. But I do know this, having played over there and missed many balls and bobbled many balls.
You?
I've been told possession many times, right? But it has to do with possession. If that ball is moving by any means, now I don't know, we can't get a good enough look at it. And the look would be from second base, where we could see. Unfortunately, we do not have that, but there's nothing, based on what we see right now, that would make me think they're going to change this call.
So the play is under review, and it's not the umpires making the call. They're on the headset with the NCAA replay command center. And again, I didn't see anything that would change the call.
No.
It looked to me, Carter Graham, the back foot was on the bag when he had secured the baseball. And we'll just wait for the official word as the umpires are in communication with the NCAA Replay Command Center.
But back to Owen Cobb, you saw him field this ground ball, and he's been, quite frankly, shaky the entire game. And when you get in this mentality, fielding ground balls, and you're hanging on, the very first play of the game was an errant throw. But you can see him, he's catching the ball fine. It's the throws where he's trying to aim it over there to first rather than just let it go, be fluid, and just let it go. And here we go, we're going to get a call here.
The umpires, after consultation, out at first base. Call stands. That was a challenge. Each team gets 2 challenges under this replay system. And if you're successful on your challenges, then you get to keep challenges. If you fail, you lose it. 1 challenge left for Jason Dietrich, and there's 2 outs. Guzman at second, and Jack Haley the batter for Cal State Fullerton.
I'm a little bit surprised, Roxy, to see the outfield for the Cardinal pretty deep. You have a 1-run lead, but you want to have an opportunity to throw out the runner at the plate. You're only nursing a 1-run lead.
Well, the wind is blowing out, and we've seen the ball carry, especially during day games, that sunken diamond, and it's warm. It doesn't get that hot here. Temperatures have risen up in the high 70s, and Bruno can't find the zone. It's 3-0. Haley is 1 for 2 with a run scored. He walked his last time up in the 6th. Strike from Bruno.
Well, the last thing you want to do right here, if you're Bruno, is lose the 9-hole hitter in Haley and have to face the Titans' leading home run hitter in Luke, who is on deck.
And he lost him. There's 2 on. Bruno has walked 2 here in the 8th. And now Zach Liu is coming up. The go-ahead run is on for Cal State Fullerton. Liu is 0 for 4 with a run, reached on an error in the first inning. So Ryan Bruno creating a little bit of a jam for himself here. 2 on, 2 out. 6-5 Stanford in the 8th. Ball 1 to the all Pac-12 closer Bruno. Last 14 appearances, a 1.83 ERA. 32 strikeouts in 19 2/3, and Thomas Eager making a visit. Stanford's pitching coach. And we mentioned Bruno was lights out in the postseason last year. 10 2/3 in the postseason last year. 1-0, 1.69 ERA. 20 strikeouts in 10 2/3 innings. And he had to work 3 times in the Stanford Regional last year, all against Texas State. And he recorded 10 strikeouts over 4 scoreless innings against the Bobcats.
Well, we mentioned how hard Bruno throws. He can rush it up there upwards to 98, but when he gets behind to hitters, it doesn't matter what level. If you know a fastball's coming, it doesn't matter how hard somebody throws.
95, strike 1.
But I mentioned, scouts will tell you his best pitch is his changeup.
Just missed. Two and 1. Moises Guzman at second, Jack Haley at first. Popped up. This will get over near the Stanford dugout.
It's a fastball in on the hands of Liu. See what they elect to do. They go hard again in, or they throw that changeup down and away.
2-2 with 2 down, 2 on. Just miss high with a fastball. Rather a changeup.
Well, it was the changeup, but big advantage for the Titans right now. Both runners will be on the move here. So long single with the
strike 3 called. Went with the changeup and he caught him looking. Titans strand 2, 1-run lead for Stanford as we go to the 9th, and Ryan Bruno escapes.
Well, it's been Bruno's bread and butter. 3-2 changeup, locks up Lou. Cardinal nursing a 1-run lead.
6-5, Stanford to the 9th. Elimination game. The winner will turn around in about 3 hours from now and play Texas A&M, the regional final. Whoever wins this game would need to beat the Aggies twice to advance out of this regional. 9-1-2 for Stanford against JoJo Ingracia. Owen Cobb will lead it off here in the 9th. Eddie Park, Tommy Troy to follow. Cobb is 1 for 3 with a single back in the 4th. JoJo Ingracia continues on the mound. And it's 2-0 as Cobb showed bunt. I think he was just trying to get in the head and distract Ingracia.
What he's trying to do is get on base somehow, some way, and I think you'll see a 2-0 take right here. He had no intention of swinging at that 1-0 pitch.
2-2 on Cobb. Grassi entered in the 7th. And Cobb strikes out, 1 gone in the 9th. First strikeout, correction, second strikeout for Grassi. He struck out Rios, but Rios reached on the wild pitch.
That's just Ingracia taking a little bit off his fastball, and it works like a sink ball. Again, we talked about Ingracia has been the best out of the bullpen for the Titans the entire year.
Eddie Park, 1 for 3 with a run and an RBI today. And he takes just off the outside. You're looking to the bottom of the 9th. Cal State Fullerton will have 2, 3, and 4 due to bat. Caden Connor, Nate Nankill, and Brendan Bobo. Two 2-0 on Park. This is the at-bats today for Eddie Park. In pitches per at-bat, including 10 when he eventually grounded out in the 6th inning.
Well, based on that, I told you, Matt, my best subject, this should be a 12-pitch at-bat. 4, 6, 8, 10. Just give me credit. Boy, it's tough for you, isn't it?
You noticed a trend. That was pretty good. You noticed a trend.
Wow.
This will be pitch number 4 of the at-bat. And a ground ball at the first base side. And Caden Connor tags Eddie Park going by. Out number 2. Tommy Troy, 3 for 4, a 3-run homer back in the 3rd inning. A couple of singles and even the out. Tommy Troy stung it at Moises Guzman in center. Two outs, nobody on. Ball 1 to Tommy Troy. Average up to 406 for the Stanford third baseman. And the offer trying to hold up, 1-1.
Good changeup. Gracia.
1 ball, 1 strike. 2-1 on Troy. Gracia, the 2-1. Troy hits it sharply on the ground in a 4-hit game for Tommy Troy. And a 2-out base runner to get Carter Graham to the plate.
Well, 2 outs and Tommy Troy's at first base. Left-handed pitcher Gracia on the mound. We know Tommy Troy can steal bags with the best of them in the country, but what it does with Carter Graham coming up, Gracia has to be aware of Tommy Troy at first, so his concentration has to be in 2 places. And a lot of times that happens when somebody like Graham can come up. You can make mistakes, and then just like that, it's a 3-run lead. But you see right off the bat, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to throw over to first. Some might say, well, why would you let Tommy Troy run with somebody
stolen bases
with somebody like Graham up? That's a part of his game. That's why.
Ground ball, right side, diving, tumbling, but then Tommy Troy wildly goes around second and gets back. That's an infield hit for Carter Graham. Took advantage of the hole that was open and reaching, and Maddox Lotta, phenomenal job just to get it. And that's an infield hit.
This is incredible effort by Lotta at second base. Watch this. Full tumble, gets up, throws a strike over to Haley, and they almost get Tommy Troy rounding second.
2 on, 2 out for Braden Montgomery. 1 for 4 for the Stanford cleanup batter. Back-to-back hits with 2 outs. 12 hits now for the Cardinal.
This is where I roll the dice. If I'm the Titans, I bring my outfield in. I'm going to take the chance. In this situation, I'm already chasing 1. You got the fastest guy arguably on the Cardinal at second base at Tommy Troy. You got to have an opportunity to throw him out.
2-0 on Montgomery. Just thinking about, should Stanford survive this game and get to tonight? At some point, I think we're going to see Braden Montgomery on the mound.
Well, you're going to see him at some point in time, you would like to think.
Good changeup from Gracia.
Looks like you'll see that same pitch. Montgomery has a problem with any pitch that's been off speed from the right-hand side.
At third, Zach Liu goes the short way to Forrest Graham. We go to the bottom of the 9. 6-5 Stanford. Ryan Bruno will try to close it out. This elimination game. Stanford 6, Cal State Fullerton 5. We go to the bottom of the 9th. This elimination game. And for the Titans against Ryan Bruno, Caden Connor, Nate Nankill, Brendan Bobo due to bat.
Well, if you're the Cardinal and David Esker and pitching coach Thomas Eager, and you're nursing a 1-run lead in the biggest game of the year, this is the guy they want on the mound, and Ryan Bruno. And then you can add that 2 of the next 3 hitters are left-handed, 3 of the next 5 hitters for the Titans are left-handed.
Caden Connor is 0 for 4 today. 3 flyouts and a strikeout. Ball 1. Tommy Troy was creeping up at third when Connor showed as if he may drop one down. In there from Bruno.
But we talked about it. Jason Dietrich has told us this Titan offense has done it with smoke and mirrors. And what you refer to as small ball is they can do anything at any time of the game. Bunt, safety squeeze.
Just missed off the corner. 2-1 the count on Caden Connor. Stanford go-ahead homer from Timo Becerra in the 6th inning. It's been back and forth in this one. Bouncer over the mound, and it gets through the sliding Becerra, who's in at shortstop for Stanford. As a change, he was DHing, and now he's in at short. And that is a single for Caden Connor, and the tying run is on for the Titans.
We'll get a look at it. It's not hit hard, it's just hit located perfectly for Connor. Becerra does all he can, but just like that, leadoff hitter on for the Titans. And again, Neil Walton runs the offense for the Titans, and what is he going to elect to do? Nankiel has swung the bat very, very well today, but does he want to give up this right-handed bat to get a runner in scoring position? Does he let him swing? And you see him showing bunt early.
Got 3 hits, 2 doubles, an RBI. Pops up the bunt, and a diving attempt. Malcolm Moore can't reach it.
And I'm sure there's some that would say that we're going to get a look at this effort from Moore. Just a tremendous effort from the freshman.
Again squaring Nankiel. Gets it down. Carter Graham underhands for the out as Caden Connor takes second with Drew Bowser covering at first base.
And there's some out there that I'm sure they would say, well, why would you take the bat out of a right-handed hitter who swung the bat very well? And on the other side, it's just to see what we see right now, which is the tying run at second base. And that's when this inning started for the Titans. That's all they were trying to do, is get the tying run at second base. The go-ahead run now is at the plate in Bobo.
7 homers for Bobo on the year. 0 for 2 today with a run. He's walked twice. 1 out, 6-5 Stanford. Strike 1 to Bobo. Stanford's shortcomings in the infield today. Would that factor in also in the thought process for Cal State Fullerton?
Well,
when they laid the bunt down.
No, I think it has more to do with Neil Walton and his mentality of how he likes to run this Titans offense. Again, I don't think it has anything to do. Defensive problems was more centered on Owen Cobb out there at shortstop. But I think, again, look what happened here, right? Again, you gave up an out. You gave up a right-handed bat who had been hot today. But look how the game has changed right now. It puts a lot of pressure everywhere.
1-run lead, a high-stress 9th inning. 1-2 on Brendan Bobo. Leadoff single from Caden Connor. He's at second base. Did he go? He went around, tried to hold up. Struck him out. 2 gone in the 9th. As Bruno ran that fastball in.
Well, this is nothing but Petro up and in, and Bobo could not hold up. See Malcolm Moore saying, hey, I want to check. Little did he know, home plate umpire Doug Vines had already called it strike 3.
Maddox Lott, the last hope for Cal State Fullerton. Single, drove in a run back in the first. He is 1 for 3. Lotta homered yesterday in an elimination game against San Jose State. That's ball 1, way inside. 94 from Ryan Bruno.
So you want to manage?
No, I like playing it from up here.
Good change up there from Bruno.
1-1 on Maddox Lotta. Caden Connor leading at second base. 1-2. Backed it up with a changeup.
Not very often you're going to see an 88-mile-an-hour changeup, but you will against when you're facing this left-hander on a mound. Everybody on their feet.
1-2. Cal State Fullerton down to their last strike. Strike 3 called, ball game. Another changeup from Bruno. And the Stanford Cardinals survive the elimination game. 6-5. They hang on to beat Cal State Fullerton. And the Cardinal will advance to the regional final. And Cal State Fullerton's season ends 32-24. Showed well in this regional. A perennial power, which has been down for a few years, and the 4-time national champ season ends. But they're clearly under Jason Dietrich heading in the right direction.
Well, they sure are, and how they got in, they had to win 3 of their last 4 games of the year just to get into the postseason. We talked about how many times these two programs have met in the postseason, and Roxy, they gave us one heck of a baseball game here today.
And they battled the number 8 national seed Cardinal in this elimination game. Stanford uses the long ball and outstanding relief pitching to get through this elimination game as we take a look at our Capital One rewarding performance. And this lifted Stanford into the lead. Timo Becerra.
Well, it wasn't the big boppers of this Stanford Cardinal lineup. It was Becerra, somebody that wasn't expected to be in the lineup, but today he was the big bat. The 2-run home run gave them the lead. Then the Cardinal eventually hold on to that lead. And what a day, though, for Becerra.
So Stanford advances to the regional final in this double elimination format. And the Cardinal will play Texas A&M as the Aggies beat Stanford last night, 8-5. Stanford would need to win tonight to force a winner-take-all Game 7 here tomorrow, as A&M would need to lose twice, again in this format, as they are 2-0 so far here this weekend. Nick Dugan the winner, Ryan Bruno save number 9. Trevor Hinkle takes the loss, but Stanford survives, and the Cardinal will see him tonight against Texas A&M. For Wes Clements and our ESPN crew, so long for now for the farm. Roxy Bernstein inviting you to join us tonight at 9 Eastern, Stanford, Texas A&M.